Welcome, Stunthangar fans. I'm Rusty, and it's Friday night, and we're all here to entertain each other talking about aeromodeling. We are presented by Stunthangar Control Line Forums, and if you are logged in to stunthanger.com Control Line Forums, then you can access the link to this live video chat with your camera and microphone in the at the bench thread. And as usual, you can find that link on if you go to the main page where you would go to the open forums and then scroll down and look for a subheading called live streams. There's a thread that pops up at 9:40 on show nights, and the first thread in it has the link to this show. And if you click that, you can come in and talk live with us. And if you would prefer to just use YouTube, either in anonymity, or if you want to converse with us in the text chat box over there, just go to the Stunt Hanger, 2 words, search YouTube for it, the Stunt Hanger YouTube page, and it should be pretty easy to find right there on the first main page of the channel. And the live streams broadcast there, where you can type in the text chat box, talk to us, and also at the bottom of the chat box is a super chat button, which is a block $sign, and you can use that to drop us a donation. If you could, that would be great. It keeps us keeps Sparky in server fees and equipment to broadcast from all the places he goes and broadcasts and reports from live, and his workshop where he builds and shows us how to do things in modeling. And so we'll keep on going until probably about 12 tonight. I'm going to probably have to close the YouTube feed. Anybody that's in here live can keep on going until the sun rises if they want to. The diehards are welcome to chat all night long. I'm going to have to hit the sack a little earlier than usual for a Friday night, so maybe 12:30. It just depends on how I feel about it at the time. One thing, I've been tinkering with my system, because if anybody was watching Monday, they saw that I had to use earphones because my 15-year-old $75 Logitech sound system went bluey, let the smoke out, and had no sound. And so I had to use earphones, and that was very distracting for me because I'm not used to it. And so now I've got a Bluetooth tower, mini tower that I used to use out in the workshop to listen to music. Got it linked up to the computer so that I can hear without earphones. But I've been screwing with the sound settings so much that I want y'all to listen and tell me if I sound okay on your end of it. Type me a message in YouTube, or when I start talking to our live audience, I can ask them about it too. There are some bandwidth issues in Jitsi, which is if you look in the top right, top left corner of the video screen, you can see the logo. Jitsi is a little glitchy, and it doesn't handle low bandwidth very well. And so some people keep getting kicked out, and it's because the bandwidth gets sketchy, and it'll turn people with low bandwidth off sometimes. If you keep dropping out and can't get back in, try turning your camera off after you log in, and it'll let you stay in. We don't have to have your picture. You can talk to us, and you can see us. You just you might have to run without your camera. That happens to a couple of our members fairly often, and I think it's actually happened to me a couple of times lately. I'm working on getting some higher bandwidth on my end, but my bandwidth doesn't really affect everybody else. It doesn't go through me. I'm just accessing the system like you are. So anyway, if you like the show, please click the like button or dislike button. If you dislike it, please man up and tell us why you dislike it. All we try to do here is keep it family friendly, family room friendly, that is, so as not to say anything you wouldn't want us talking about around your children and that sort of thing. So with all that said, welcome to the Friday night show. I'm so glad it's Friday. and I got a couple of people in here, and I got a couple of people out there on the tube. So first, the tubers. Hey, Gary Sinclair, glad to have you with us, and David Phillips. Hey, David, glad to see you too. Thanks for coming in. Now we got John Miller and Tom Reynolds in here. So how you guys doing?
Hi, Rusty. Hi, John.
Hey,
How's my how's my sound?
not
Your
bad.
sounds
Not too
good.
loud, not too loud, not too low, not echoey.
Kind of.
Oh, it sounds good, Rusty.
I,
Okay,
I,
good.
I want to say, twang your magic twanger, Froggy.
Maybe twangier. Is that what you said?
That's from the old. That's from the old Cowboy Bob Howdy Doody hour.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. That's that. What'd you call us? That's the pedal steel guitar sound is twangy.
yeah.
That's what I used to call it anyway. So okay, well, twangy will do. I am from the South. I'm part cowboy anyway. So
There
hey,
you
I'll
go.
take that. I'll call that a win. Hey, we got Harry Sandoval. He says, "Hi, I have an ARF flight streak with an OS 25, and I would say an OS 25 is probably, if that's an LA 25, especially, that's probably the best engine you can put in a flight streak, Harry. Welcome to the show. I think this is your first time here, or it's the first time you've posted anyway. So glad to have you. Appreciate it. And let's see, it flies wonderfully. Yeah, you can't get a better flying sport plane than a flight streak. It goes where you point it. And if you've got enough skills to keep it in the air when you start, then you can really develop your skills with a flight streak too. It'll do all the loops, everything in the pattern. You probably want to get something that's a little less twitchy if you ever decide to compete in pattern flying, but otherwise, a flight streak will hone your skills as well as any plane out there. I love flight streaks. So, um, anyway, what you guys got going on? I got your videos, Tom. That's some good looking. Tom's been sending me videos about his robotics high school group, the Chargers, right? That's the name of
Right.
the that the team name of their sports teams, or is that just y'all's robotics club names?
It's also all the sports teams at the school are the
Is it?
Chargers.
You got a good looking group of kids out there. They look like they're working hard, and it looked like a few parents and maybe older brothers and sisters were chipping in too. Because
Yep.
working the power tools, I saw a few adults mixed in with the crowd. But I saw
Yeah,
your
we have some mentors, and some are mentors, and some are the coaches for the team. Um, there's two teachers that are science teachers at the school that are part of the robotics team.
I'm glad to see y'all are letting the kids handle the power tools because that's a lot of learning experience too. I mean, they're not only learning robotics, and those who might not be so inclined are learning a lot of other stuff, everything from construction geometry techniques to working tools and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, learning CAD, learning programming, electronics, soldering, mechanical skills, construction. It's such a good opportunity for the kids. It's
I was
just a
watching
really great program.
I was watching your ball launcher, and looked like it was a little all over the place at the time. But are y'all zeroing in on the distance and and the aim on that target hole?
We are working on that. We we added a flywheel to the shooter, which should help quite a bit also. And um, we're looking at adding some vision technology so that it can hone in on the target and then adjust
Yeah.
automatically with the computer. So
Is it got any way to adjust the belt to tweak it to make the ball curve differently or any? I mean, that's hard. That's not easy stuff to do on the schedule y'all are on. Y'all
what
are
what
running.
we're trying what we're trying to do is have the computer control the drivetrain so that it can aim at the target. And then the shooter, it has to be able to control the speed. And so those tests that you saw are without the computer attached.
Mm.
So it was just initial tests to see if the shooter even worked.
Yeah.
But in the final, we'll have encoder feedback to the computer so that we can adjust the velocity to get a better trajectory to the target.
Yeah. What size? What kind of? Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, Tom, take a book, a leaf out of the book for the military guidance systems on some of their missiles. Get a little TV camera in the nose of your ballistic or your projectile, and have it recognize something on its target that it can there lock in on using the computer.
The projectile is a spinning ball, though. That's the problem there.
We are planning that. We just don't have the camera attached to the prototype yet. But
okay.
The guys are working on the programming of that to detect the target and to adjust for the target.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, it all looks fascinating, and no matter how well they do in the end, they've got to be learning a lot of really useful stuff, and that's great. They all look like they're having fun. Thanks for sharing the video with us. That's pretty good stuff.
Sure. Also, one of the teachers at the school is asked me about remote control airplanes. He has some students that are interested in building a remote control plane in their class, and so I gave him a list of things to purchase. And so they started building it already. They're building a Piper Cub, or it's called the Simple Cub. It's by Flight Test. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Flight Test.
Yeah,
I am.
But so they're working on that, and then I'll be helping them with flying that when they get it done.
Yeah, and learning all about balancing and all that kind of stuff too. So.
Right.
Well, good.
So that'll be 3-phase or a brushless electric motor powered Piper Cub.
What about the structure? Is it going to be coroplast or foam board, or what you got going there?
Yeah, it's foam board, and it's they bought the kit, so it's already laser cut.
Oh, okay.
Board.
Right.
So it goes together pretty fast.
Yeah.
There are 4 boys in the class that are working on it together, so it's a really small class.
Gary Sadclair says he built one, so that's good. I'm glad we got some kids that are really doing some engineering stuff like this, because it is engineering. I mean, it might inspire some to major in that on down the line.
Yeah, I built a Simple Cub also, and it's on floats, and so I take off and land on the lake here in the summertime.
When I was flying RC, we had a little girl showed up. She was probably 10 or 11, little redheaded girl, and she had a 2-meter sailplane that her and her dad had put together. And so we taught her how to fly it, and she'd be out there on flight days when we had the club out there flying, and she'd lay down on the grass, on her back, and she'd get that thing up, and she'd just fly it from one thermal to another and just enjoyed the daylights out of it. 7 years ago, I saw a picture of her. She was giving the opening speech at the EAA at Oshkosh. She was a full-size pilot, had gotten majored in aerodynamics and stuff like that at college, and all from that flying that little 2-meter glider. what you're doing, Tom, some of these kids are going to take off with it. You can be proud of them when they do.
Yeah.
Right.
How about that? That's pretty cool. I used to have a forum friend over on RC groups when I was just getting back, retreading into the hobby, and his neck vertebrae in his neck were fused, so he couldn't look up at all, and he flew laying on his back on the ground. Just had to be careful not to fly outside of his range of vision, but yeah, he successfully flew and had a great time laying on his back flying. So I like to think I might be able to do that with control. I do some figure eights, overhead eights. I don't know how well that would go or not. So I'll have to get a styrofoam plane to try that with.
You can do lazy eights. Sit there, just put a
Yeah.
pillow behind your head.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
Well,
Tom,
so many of the full size pilots got started in model aviation.
that's why the EAA is supporting model aviation with this things going on with the FAA right now.
Neil Armstrong got his start with model aviation. His mother used to buy him models to build and fly, and she helped him building and flying when he was a kid. And
So did Burt Rutan.
no kidding, really. And
Yep.
I get the accomplishments of the two brothers confused. I know there's Bert and Dick, and I'm not sure which one has done what, but I used to follow those guys. When they were flying that gossamer winged plane around the world, and that was pretty interesting. And they've been responsible for a lot of designs. That first thing that I don't know who flew it. Was it Virgin Galactic that won a prize for flying into space and returning a vehicle? And he had that configuration that rocketed up, launched for an airplane, I think, and rocketed up, and then flipped its wing set over it and kind of hung on the wing and glided back down to the ground. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah. They call that the feathering mechanism, and that's at the EAA museum right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
But who was that? Was that the Virgin Galactic guy that flew it or that owned it, or was that one of the Rutans? I think the Rutans designed it. Is that right?
It was Burt Rutan, and it was the SpaceX, I think. Was that what it was called? Or
it was the X Prize or something
X
like
Prize?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Steve.
Hey,
how you doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad. Been a long day, but had to take my mom there to Ann Arbor and back.
How's she doing?
Pretty good. They just got to try to figure out why her oxygen level's a little low. It's weird because it was, and then they put her on oxygen, and she was on oxygen for, I don't know, 2 months and went back in and tested, put her through the paces, all that kind of stuff, and her oxygen was fine. And they said, well, we don't know why the other doctor put you on oxygen. And I'm like, they tested her and it was below 90. So, well, fine now. Well, we go in today and it was at 90. So now they're trying to figure out why your oxygen level was.
Are they just testing it with the fingertip optical clamp? Is that how they test it?
Yeah. So I don't know how else they can do it unless.
I don't either. Maybe they were getting some bad readings or something. I don't know.
I just had mine tested at the VA, and they took blood to do it.
Oh, okay.
Because yeah,
I thought oxygen was too volatile.
electrocuted. Remember, I got electrocuted.
Yeah,
I do
I got all
remember
kinds
that.
of scar tissue in my fingers, and so half the time they had me in an operation a year ago, and they thought I died on there. I was fine. It just that they weren't getting oxygen through the
No
scar tissue.
oxygen, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they have other ways of doing it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I didn't know if they did or not. I thought oxygen might be too volatile to last from the time you draw it to the time you get it to the.
They do it real
trauma.
quick.
Yeah.
You know, maybe she has a little COPD or something, you know, that flares up or does something. I'm not sure because
She's over 90. And I mean, gosh.
it was just a deal where I could notice with her that she was out of breath.
Yeah.
And we had it tested and they put her on oxygen. Well, before we went in for the operation, we had to go and go through tests and stuff the day before the operation. Well, we stopped at a rest area. She walked from the car, went in, went bathroom, come back out. She was a little bit, you know, winded, but not that much. Well, today we stopped at the same rest area and she couldn't even make it to the door without having to catch her breath.
Hmm.
And this is after the operation where, you know, it's like I told her before she leaves, she had to make 2 laps around the hospital. She did it fine. And from the car to the door wasn't even a quarter of the way that she had to walk in the hospital to prove that her oxygen level and everything was okay.
Yeah.
So it's just something strange. So they're going to look into that.
Yeah, is her hemoglobin okay?
They did blood tests and stuff like that. So I don't know what the blood tests, we didn't get the results.
Yeah.
So
that they would have said something if the hemoglobin was particularly low. And you can look at her nail beds and palms and tell if the lines in your palms are pink, you're good to go. But I don't know. At her age, you know, because she's in her 90s, isn't she?
now she's going to be 86, her birthday here in a couple months.
Still.
Yeah, she's still up there, but it's just weird. The good thing was all the fluid was out of her body. I mean, her ankles were huge and they're down to right to bone and stuff like that. So
good.
All that part is really good. It's just that
nutrition's good. I hope.
Yeah, so they took a bunch of vials today of blood, but they said they wouldn't have the results until Monday.
Yeah.
So, but you know, she's doing pretty good. You know, her arthritis is still really bad, but I actually seen her take a full step. She does like that. She'll raise her foot up and then the next one, and you know, like this. She can actually do a full step and climb
good.
there. Yeah, so that part.
I can't do that very well.
Yeah, so that part, you know, is a lot better.
Hey, there's Len.
Yeah. Oh, I know people don't like me talking about stuff that's not airplane stuff, but I got a new router. What a difference. So you were right about it slowing, you know, because I asked him there about it slowing down. But he was trying to explain to me that most of this stuff won't work unless you have an in router. And even them are slow or something. I don't know. They must put letters after these routers or something. I don't know. But now my telephone, because my telephone would work, but I wouldn't. The calls would come and go and drop out and stuff. Help, my phone is fast as hell now on.
Oh, good.
Being hooked to the.
Yeah, those routers get weak as they age, and you need to reboot them once in a while too, because that's something you don't always think of, because it stays on all the time, and even when you reboot your computer, you forget about the router. So I try to at least once a month reboot my router, just a full cold boot.
Is that what that little button is in the back?
I'd rather just pull the power plug completely out of it, wait 10 seconds, plug it back in. They do have a reset button, but it's like a cold boot or a warm boot on a computer. I always trust the cold boot more, meaning remove power completely, plug it back in, and let it reboot.
But yeah,
if they have an update for your firmware, then when you reset it, that's when it will reload the firmware in it to the latest version.
Well,
which also can help speed it up.
That's
I
probably
think
true. That is
my other
true.
router was so old that it didn't even have firmware.
It's so old it was made out of wood. Huh?
Yeah,
No, it's one that had floppyware.
you
Did you
know,
have to crank it to get it power too?
got a little
You
squirrel
reach
on a
up
wheel
there and
that
turn
was
it.
above it, and that squirrel ran in that wheel.
You, yeah, you can't forget to feed him.
You know, me and Time just don't get along or whatever. Because I was talking to Samantha, and she said, you got that. She goes, when I was about 8 or 9 years old. It's when we first started going to Brodak and stuff, so she could stream stuff to her TV. And I'm like, because I thought it was like 3 or 4 years old. And she's like, it's gotta be 10. She goes, this gotta be 10 to 11 years old, maybe 12. And I'm like, oh, okay. So
You're getting old, Steve.
I am. Yeah, so
I hear you.
but
Me
I
too.
still have it, and I'll sell it cheap if somebody wants it.
Yeah, but you can't find it because you can't remember where you put it, can you?
Oh, that was cruel.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but it's true. We're all like that. I'm the same way. I go downstairs and I start building. I can't find the glue. Oh, now I can't find the knife. Now what the hell did I do with this and that and everything else? It takes me an hour to get anything done.
Yeah, you set
Yeah,
it down, you turn to do something, and you come back and you can't remember where you put it.
Yeah, where the heck
I
did it
can be
go? I just
sitting.
had it 10 seconds ago.
I can
Yeah.
be sitting. I can be sitting on the stool at my table and lose the Exacto knife I was
Oh
just using
yeah.
10 minutes ago.
Oh yeah, for sure. 10
No
minutes ago.
way
Heck,
to find
I
it.
think 10 seconds ago. And where'd I put it? I don't know.
Well, that's like I bought some scissors and I got them with orange handles on them because
Yeah.
by God, I'll be able
It'll
to see
stand
them,
out.
right? You know, I sat on the bench with exact. I can say if all these shit and things are silver, they kind of blend in. Well, tonight I'm down there doing that monocoat and I'm putting on orange monocoat. You think I could find them scissors? Hell no. And
They're
it's like,
sitting on top of the monocoat.
you know, but they were just sitting there on a green chair. And my mind was seeing all this orange pieces and stuff like that, you know, on the floor where I was trimming and everything. But my scissors were gone. So I walk around the bench, and when I came back around, bang, there they are. And I'm like, how in the hell couldn't I see them sitting there?
Oh man.
Selected vision.
Yeah, we're all in a sad state of affairs.
Speaking of, you reminded me talking about the color on your scissor handles is a couple of years ago, back when I was down. You know, I was down for a long time. Well, I now and then I decide I was going to need a certain thing, and one time I got stuck on tool dip. I needed some tool dip to dip pliers handles and that sort of thing, and my hemostat handles, which I carry everywhere with me to help me pick things up that I drop on the floor. My old crow claw fingers don't pick things up off the floor very well, and never have used it. It's still, I brought it in the house out of the shop so it wouldn't get hot and cold, and I still haven't opened that can. The reason I didn't use it right away is because it said as soon as you open it, it starts curing. So I wanted to have everything I wanted to tool dip lined up and ready to go so I could dunk and hang and dunk and hang and have them all done. Pliers, cutters, scissors, spring hooks, whatever. And I was wondering if any of you guys had used tool dip, and how true is it that it cures as soon as you open a can of it? Uh, has anybody ever had any experience with that stuff?
I've never
Well,
used it.
all I know is that I heard that myself, but I bought a big can of liquid electric tape.
Yeah.
You know, and that stuff works really good, you know, if you nick a wire, whatever. so it was pretty expensive, and I used it. I'm like, man, this stuff works really good. Put the top back on it, came back to it like in 6 months, and it was like,
Oh yeah.
and
Turned to
it
rubber.
reminded me of, because I thought to myself, I could use this as tool dip
Yeah.
because that stuff was so rubbery.
I wonder if tool dip is a good insulator.
Probably
As long
is.
as if it's not porous at all, if it's porous at all, then it's not. But that's not what it's designed for. But it might be. But one of these days soon, I'm gonna go ahead and do that, because there are some tools I could use better if I would have a rubbery handle on them.
I'm so dangerous in the shop. Sometimes I think I should dip both ends of the tools in.
Yeah, yeah, dip those sharp ends in it so you don't hurt anybody yourself.
Those safety tools, huh?
Oh my gosh.
They make plastic ones you can buy at the toy store, I think. So
Well, I don't know what I'm going to do now, but on my work van, when I was working, I always had nitrogen. So when I made fuel, I'd buy 5 gallons of methanol and make a gallon or 2 gallons and have the methanol there. But I always took my nitrogen and stuck it in my big fuel container and blow nitrogen in on top of the methanol so it wouldn't absorb the water in the air. So I have a feeling that this tool dip is a humidity, a moisture cure, that it needs moisture to set off the cure of it.
yeah,
So when you open it, that's like the new 2-part paint stuff. Once you open the catalyzer, it's only good for so many months.
yeah.
But if you put nitrogen in it, or even CO2, it'll stop that. But I don't know if they sell like little cans of nitrogen or CO2 or something where you can blanket your stuff. Because I do that with dope and all that. I used to, but now I don't have a big nitrogen bottle on my truck. And
Is nitrogen heavier than air?
No.
I don't think so, but it's dry. There's no moisture in nitrogen at all. CO2 can have a little bit, but it's not as much as the air around you. But when I worked at Guardsman, we had a CO2 generator, and all it was a natural gas deal that burned up the oxygen and then sucked off the fumes off of it.
Yeah, strips it out of the air. Yeah,
yeah, and then
I think
we put it in
guys that pressurized beer, like beer vans that go to festivals and stuff. I think they keep that stuff pressurized with nitrogen to keep a good head on the beer.
I know
and that's
one
what
thing.
Nitrogen generators. It pulls the nitrogen straight out of the air.
When I worked there at Guardsman, they came up with they call it catalyzed lacquer. And what it was is that however they made it, it was moisture cured. Kind of like same thing with not polyacrylic, but the stuff you put on wood, poly something or other.
Polyurethane?
Yeah. There's urethane and polyurethane.
Yeah,
and the difference between the two
right.
is polyurethane is moisture cured.
Okay.
But the moisture cured lacquer, I always wanted to try it, but I can't get a hold of it on an airplane because I let some of it set up I left a spray gun and it set up in the spray gun, and it took industrial stripper for me to get that out of the gun, and it took a month of soaking. That's how hard that lacquer got.
Damn, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but I see that something on one of these TV programs or something was talking about catalyzed lacquer in a spray can. So I'm going to start looking for that. and test it once and see if it's the same stuff that Guardsman had patented at the time, but the patent would be, 30 years ago, patent would be up. But yeah, they made it for real high-end furniture. So like say if you set a cup on there, how you get the ring on old lacquer furniture and stuff, and it'd mess up the finish. The catalyzed stuff would not mess up. But it was just so hard to get off. But it polished to a really super high sheen and everything. But I don't know if they make it anymore or not. They sent that over by St. Louis, Missouri, to a plant there, and I don't know if hell be DuPont now, because it's been sold so many times that if DuPont still makes it or not. No, not DuPont, but Sherwin-Williams.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you used to work for Sherwin-Williams, didn't you?
Well, it was Guardsman, then it was Lilly, then it was Axo, and now Sherwin-Williams owns it. All these, they just kept combining all these factories because with the new high solid paints, the capacity, you didn't need it. I mean, at one time we had a truck driver that brought like 4,000 gallons a day to Whirlpool. We made these batches had them running in tanks, and would send out a huge 4,000 gallon batch of white every day, and 5,000 gallons of another colored stuff. But we had one driver that did nothing but run from our shop to Whirlpool, unload, come back, and that was a day's worth of work. But at the end, we were lucky if we were sending them 1,000 gallons a week. Not 4,000 gallons a day, 1,000 gallons a week. We just had all these tanks with nothing in them.
Yeah. Steve, I once went to Sherwin-Williams, went to their commercial coatings division, and looked at there, and I found that they had an epoxy-based paint, and they would mix it up to any color I wanted. So I got a gallon of it, mixed up the color I wanted, and I got the reducer and the thinner, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
And I got the clear, and I sprayed that onto a model airplane, and it actually did a pretty good job. I'm wondering if that wouldn't be a good replacement for the old can be epoxies.
All these epoxies are about the same. I mean,
what I thought.
We had a lab across the street with 50 guys in it, and all they did was take apart other people's stuff. You see the CSI stuff where they have these labs and they're using spectral, if everything matches. Yeah. And with all these instruments, somebody would come out with something new. Within a couple of days, we knew exactly everything that was in it. And they knew exactly what was in ours. That's why they did patents and, which, I don't know, they fought on that. But the only thing we couldn't duplicate that the lab did was the process that was put together on that chemistry stuff. This has to go in, then this has to go in, be brought to a certain heat, and blah, blah, blah. And it's to stir it. And our biggest high solids paint that Guardsman had for, 10 years till someone else figured it out. One of our chief chemistry guys forgot and left on a pot of resin. So it was stirring and left the heat on all night long. When they got back in the morning, it was like, oh my God. So they take it out, but they did the testing. Everything worked great. The whole 3 years they were spending on trying to make this stuff was they didn't cook it long enough. It didn't link right. So by mistake, they came up with this paint that nobody else could reproduce. because nobody had it in their mind that they had to cook it for 24 hours. But, you know,
I guess he didn't get fired.
huh?
I guess he didn't get.
Probably got a raise, you know, for coming up with that. But yeah, that was how that was developed. And then by them doing that, they figured out other ways of heating this one so long, and then they'd run water to it and cool off the chemical reaction, and then bring it back up to temperature and add something else. And I mean, it was something cooking resin, the stuff they have to do. And when it gets to a certain deal, you have to have certain thinners and stuff in tanks. And they drop that 180 degree, 200 degree stuff down in that cold thinner, and it quenches it, and that stops the reaction. And then they go down and test it. But yeah, it was a true science on how they blend up some of these epoxies and urethanes and all that kind of stuff.
Wasn't that the old K&B epoxy? Wasn't that like Emron? They quit making it because it was so dangerous, because you didn't have ventilation when you used it.
According to the state of California, in which a watermelon might be considered dangerous.
From what I hear, Emron was a serious carcinogen, though, not just in California.
Well, that's like methyl ethyl ketone, I think. Is it methyl?
Yeah, they always told us that went to our livers and would cause bad liver damage.
And
we were using it as a solvent in the office machines industry.
Yeah, and then there was methyl chloride, and that's in paint stripper. And the molecules are so small it would go right through your skin and into your system. Yeah. But California, they ban it. And we had a plant in California that made all kinds of stuff. Well, they shut that plant down, and they moved that stripper operation to Grand Rapids. So we made it in the lacquer department where I worked. Out of the 9 of us that worked in that department during that time, and that was just before they sold out, 7 of us got cancer. But if you look at the people who worked in that department before that stuff was ever there, them people, my dad did. You know, my dad worked in that department, and then I ended up working up in that department, and I was just working on gearboxes and stuff like that, pulling pumps. But yeah, I mean, so I kind of wonder, is methyl chloride really that bad? But I think it is. You know, I was the youngest one in Michigan to have the kind of cancer I had. That prostate cancer was weird. And there was only 8 of us in the United States that had it at the time. And we all worked for chemical factories.
Wow.
You know, I don't know.
My son's a chemist, and he is keenly aware that he's being exposed to things that are probably going to kill him early. He works and he's a drug manufacturer. They make cancer drugs, and all of that stuff is extremely toxic. And
very potent stuff.
Well, that's like Elon Musk was just on TV saying the biggest thing to electric vehicles is battery manufacturing. Well, in Florida, they had an ever-ready NiCad plant down there. And I had 3 aunts and 2 cousins that worked there.
Cadmium's bad stuff.
All of them died of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wiped out.
In the copier industry, we used cadmium sulfide photoreceptor drums, and they warned us over and over again strongly not to handle that cadmium sulfide any more than you have to.
Well, my one aunt that worked there that didn't die, but she only worked there for 6 months, said probably the best thing that ever happened to her was the factory shut down and they moved it to China. But yeah, I mean, all of them died of some this weird like leukemia type cancer or something. So,
Man.
and I mean, my cousins, they all died before they were 40 years old of this funky ass stuff. But the weird thing was they all worked there about the same amount of time when they all died. It's just that, you know, their moms and aunts were older when they started working there. But yeah, that was a big, well, they brought that factory in and that helped that small town. And it, you know, they put thousands of people to work. But my one aunt said that most everybody she worked with is dead now.
That's
Damn.
sad.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of that stuff, I was just up seeing my wife up in Salt Lake yesterday, and I noticed that right here, just right on her neckline there, she developed a little like a I thought it was a blister, but it was solid. I said, "What the heck is that? You didn't have that before." And I think she's got another cancer that was caused by the dang radiation. I tell you, it's a losing proposition trying to beat cancer, apparently.
Yeah, it's getting it early. You know, it's like with mine, they got mine. They said it was within 2 microns of getting out. And if it would have got out, the guys that I work with, theirs got out and they're all dead.
Yeah.
You know, it's been 20 years for me, but they cut mine out. You know, they shrank it with chemo and all that kind of stuff. I had to go through the chemo stuff. And then they shrank it down and then cut it out. And it's gone, you know. But yeah, if it would have got out, there's just, they can do all that stuff. But I don't know if the treatment's worse than the other. I mean, that's John Brodak. They said that, you know, they cured the cancer in his esophagus, but then he had cancer around his esophagus. I figure it's from the radiation.
Yeah.
Has anybody heard anything about him lately?
He's still hanging in there.
Okay.
Nothing
That's
new.
good.
Since we're on the subject, and hopefully we'll get back to aeromodeling soon, but Howard Shenton had surgery on his neck to repair the broken vertebra yesterday, and that's all I know. And so I'll let you know anything further as he heals up how it's going. But yeah, shout out to Howard. If you're watching, Howard, get well soon.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
At least it didn't pinch any nerves or anything. If he still got, you know, all the feeling, and his neck may be stiff, but at least he'll be able to walk and eat and on his own and stuff like that.
He already had some neck problems where he couldn't look up, and he flies combat, but he was getting pretty good at flying without looking up. So
No mid-airs, huh?
Well, that's like I just found out my doctor. I was supposed to have a physical. He's out of work. He fell down the stairs at his house and tore his knee up so bad that they're telling him that they don't know if he'll ever walk again without crutches. But they said, you know, they try to set me up with a nurse practitioner, and I'm like, no, sorry, ain't gonna do it. But because they said that he could be off for another 6 months, and he's been off since the day before Thanksgiving or something. Is when he did it.
Stairs are one of the most dangerous things in life, and people don't realize it.
What's that? Stairs?
Stairs. Oh, yeah. So many people get hurt falling down stairs because they refuse to hang on. They're in such a big hurry to get where they want to go, and they're thinking about other things and not paying attention, and they are so dangerous. All you have to do is make one mistake, and it's a life changer.
yeah,
And it can be a real bad one.
I just reminded myself doing that announcement from. I got an announcement from Will that May the 2nd, there's a fun fly at Huntersville. That is in place of our Carolina Classic Spring Contest, which we're not having this year. So we'll have May 2nd, fun fly at Huntersville. We'll have a stunt clinic and an all-day swap meet, sub sandwich dinner at noon. So I forgot to say that on Monday, and so I wanted to make sure I announced it tonight.
Why they
That's a
cancel
week
that just
before.
because Will's so busy doing all these contests?
Will was the only support we had at the October contest. He got there Sunday morning. There were no judges, there were no tabulators, there were no runners, there was no nothing. He had to do everything. And all of our elder members who used to do most of that stuff can't do it anymore. They're willing, but not able. And we just don't have enough people stepping up to do the jobs. And he couldn't get enough people to commit in time to schedule the spring contest. However, um, according to Will, and I believe him 100%, come hell or high water, we're going to have the October contest because that's a big one. I mean, we get Canadians, we get people from all over the place that come in October. It's a huge contest. And so we will have that one's called the Carolina Criterium. The May contest has always been called the Carolina Classic. So the Criterium will go on as scheduled. But the Carolina Classic, we're just going to have a 1-day fun fly. So anybody within a day trip distance, I know none of y'all are, but there probably are some listening who are, and it'll be fun. And we'll probably have unsanctioned, maybe an unsanctioned half A contest or something with some fun rules thrown in and stuff like that. We're pretty creative about that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm disappointed that we're not having the Carolina Classic, but until we can get some more support to come back in and do these jobs that nobody wants to do, then we'll continue to have fun fly at that time of the year.
Well,
And besides,
our tour to Michigan is the same thing.
What'd you say, Steve?
So our tour to Michigan is the same thing. I go to them and work. I don't fly them. I don't play with the shit anyway, but I'll run numbers, tabulate, do all that kind of stuff. Because I mean, even that for a fun fly deal, we can't get enough people to run it.
It's important work, and it's not that fun either. And so we need people to do that.
Well, the thing is, it can be fun, but you have to make it fun, right?
Yeah, you do, and that's true with a lot of things.
Judging and tabulating and running scores and stuff. Yeah, it can be not fun, but you can make it fun if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I can have as much fun. I find I can have as much fun at the field in a day doing that stuff as I do flying.
Yeah.
I mean, I like judging. I like doing scores. I don't have a problem with any of that stuff when I'm in a contest.
I can judge, and I've that's hard work too. But
for sure it is, especially if there's a lot of entries.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy doing it, and so I'm up for it. I guess it's Huntersville. It's hard because the circles are on kind of built up mountains, and so you have to stand and lean into that upslope while you're watching, and that makes it hard for a whole day of standing there.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
If you try to sit in a lawn chair, you'll fall over backwards.
Well, that's like when I was doing pull tests at the Nats. I mean, what a pain in the butt that was, and it's hotter than crap. And so what I found out, what I started doing was I get everybody pulled in the morning, and you got to find them and all that kind of stuff. And then I tell them, when you come back in from flying, come to the pull test area. I'm going to pull test you right then. And then you set your airplane down. You can't touch it. And I did it that way, so I didn't have to find these people because they get done flying and, I'm the fourth one up, next round. And you don't see them until the third guy's flying, and then they're rushing to fuel their. It's like, hey, I got to pull test you. So I just did it before when they came off from their flight. Then they had to pull test.
That's a good idea.
One time it didn't work. It was real windy, and everybody, picked their airplanes up and stuff. Then I had to re-pull test because they took their lines off.
Yeah.
But that usually works pretty good, and it makes it a lot nicer doing that when because I don't know everybody there at the contest. People I know, I could see them and say, hey, come on, do a pull test. But I'm looking at some of these names like, I don't know none of these people.
So you don't know who everybody is.
So
The only time I've ever failed a pull test was in practice. Was at Bob Zambelli's house and had been working on my Oriental, put a new control system in, and I went out and picked up the airplane, and Bob had the handle, and I pulled on the plane gently, and both lines let go, or no, one line let go, and I went up to say, what the hell was wrong with that? And pulled on the other line, and it let go right there at the plane. I just pulled on it. Turned out I had used the wrong hole on the crimp tool.
oh, pulled the wire
Bad
out.
idea.
Yep. Stuff happens.
Yeah, the only time I ever had, and I wasn't flying, but Mike Paris was flying Samantha's SV-11, and we just got it done and stuff like that. So he flew it. Well, on launch, the wire caught the lead out, or I don't know if it was right, the lead out or the wire caught a weed there at Brodat.
Oh yeah, boy.
And the damn airplane jumped up and then come right like a wing over across, and we're like, holy shit. So he takes off running the other direction, and he's waiting for the lines to hit so he could, save it or whatever. And it went bam, and it hit on the lines. Well, it leveled out and snapped both the lines off. 18,000 lines. Bam.
It's amazing how hard they hit.
Oh, yeah,
They're thinking over the hill towards the scale guys. We couldn't even see it. We walk over there. There's a plane sitting on all three wheels and with a little bit of dirt on the propeller.
Wow.
And that was it. And people go, man, you can't believe how that landed. It just can't come in and just boom and just rolled out, but it killed the
prop.
Yeah, it killed the prop.
Meanwhile, the pilot standing back there saying, 4!
Yeah, it's lucky the thing didn't go farther and fly, because it was headed right at the pits.
Oh my God.
But it made about halfway between two of the circles and just landed there in the taller grass. And
every now and again,
you got a line and put on it and everything and flew it. It was fine.
Every now and again, you get lucky.
Real lucky.
Real lucky.
I remember at the Northwest Regionals some years back, Alice Cotton, she was an up and coming female stunt pilot. She had a plane called the Demeter, which is the Greek god of planting and stuff like that. Anyway, she had I don't know whether it's her Demeter or the one before that, but she came in and she smacked that sucker on the asphalt, right? Just as she's coming around towards the pits. And that engine came off of there and went skidding all the way across the circle and right through the pits. Didn't hit a soul. Nobody. Didn't break nothing except the prop on that Fox. And of course, it ground that Fox up a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, we were at it wasn't the Nats, it was the Christian Modeler deal. And a guy hit the ground and the engine come off. And it did the same thing. It went through the airplanes setting up there because they were setting on the one deal, but it never grabbed a line or nothing. That motor went ding, it was just jumping, never hit a line, went past the lines, skidded up and landed. It stopped about, 4 foot from the center of the other circle next to it. We're all like, holy cow. But you think that motor skidding across the ground would at least hook somebody's lines laying there on the asphalt, but it didn't.
Yeah. In 1960, when I was in California, I was still in high school. I had a good high school buddy and every Saturday and Sunday we flew over at the schoolyard. And he just finished. Sterling had just brought out either that year or the year before brought out the Spitfire Stunner, and he built one, and it was beautiful. It was all camouflaged and everything looked really nice. And he took it out for the first flight, and he takes it off and he's flying it around, and he goes up. We're flying easy just handles, okay? Maybe you can see what's going to come. He comes up and up over that, and right up there, all of a sudden, he gets hit with some static electricity right in the middle of his palm.
Uh-oh.
Pow! His hand comes open, and that plane just takes off. Full tank of fuel on it, mind you. And he takes off, and he's circling up. That handle swinging around this way, and the airplane's going this way, and it goes up. We can hear it. Can't even see it anymore. We can hear it, though. And then it shuts off. And we're looking up there, and all of a sudden we'd see a flash from the lines, the sun on the lines. So we got on our bicycles because we didn't have our cars with us that day. We get on our bicycles and we start chasing this thing, and it's coming around and it's circling like this, coming down. I mean, it was beautiful. It was like, and all of a sudden we're coming along, we're riding real hard, and it gets down below the trees, and we don't know exactly where it went. So we figured it went into this subdivision, though. So we turn into that subdivision. We're running up and down the streets looking, figuring, looking for broken windows or, a big pile of broken balsa or something. And we come along. Here's his house. It's sitting there, and here's this Spitfire. It's hanging from the lines are draped over the roof, coming down, and it's hanging off the eave, and its tip is about that far above the ground, and it's just swinging back and forth like this. So we went up and knocked on the door, figuring, well, maybe nobody home. So I boosted him up over the back fence. We ran in there. He disconnected the handle, and I pulled the airplane, and we grabbed the lines up like that. And we put it on the bike with him.
Run like hell.
Not a bit of damage to that airplane. Not one bit of damage.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'd never seen anything like it before or since.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I was watching a remote control pylon race, and the plane, as it tipped and then went around the pylon, it cut it too close, hit the cylinder head right on the pipe on the top of the pylon, busted the cylinder head right off the engine.
Wow.
I once flew a handicap pylon race, and what it was is you would get out whatever plane you wanted to run in this pylon race, you could do it, but you had to fly like 10 laps to establish your lap time before the main event. And so I was flying a 440 biplane with a Sato 45 4-stroke in it. These guys were flying these pylon planes, and they come, wow, and they never get it level. This big circle, going around it. And I'd just go up there and turn around and come back. I won the damn thing. They were so pissed off at me because I had the slowest plane there. But I flew 1/3 the distance.
Yep. My brother one time actually hit a bird with his RC airplane.
Yes.
And I heard about bird strikes, and we figured, we never seen one, and I mean, what's your chances of being in the same, the height and in and out and stuff like that? But he'd come in doing a high speed pass, and then all of a sudden we hear whack. We're like, what the shit? And the airplane's doing all this crazy stuff. And he actually brought it around and landed it, and it put a big dent in the wing and busted the stab loose. And the stab was kind of flapping, but he got it down. But there's a little feather in there, but we never couldn't find the bird or whatever right over the. But yeah, it hit the wing, then it hit the tail.
That reminds me.
What happened?
That reminds me of a joke Red Skelton used to tell about. He had these two seagulls, Hortense and whatever the other one's name. He'd always do this, and they're flying along, and all of a sudden this jet fighter goes, And one seagull said that, man, was that bird going fast? I said, you'd go that fast too if your tail was on fire.
Yeah, Gertrude and Heathcliff.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
I've actually had a small hawk try to attack my control line airplane, my stunt plane, at one time.
Oh, no
You know,
kidding.
yeah. Did the main dive on it, just missed because he wouldn't expect me to go that way when he was going that way.
Yeah, I seen Red Skelton one time. I should have talked to him, but I didn't.
Oh, really?
He was in the Meyer store, grocery store, late at night, but so many people were bothering. And I'm like, I don't want to bother him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a good friend of my mom and dad's.
Really?
She went to school with him and everything. Had pictures of him and her together, school days and everything like that there in Indiana.
Well, he was one of a kind, and there probably never be another one like him.
Oh. Yeah,
Hey,
she said that he was the
John?
funniest person that she had ever met.
Yeah, I got a little teeny fly that's flying around in here. I just got him.
Are you sure?
Yeah, he I thought I did.
I haven't seen a fly since September.
These are little like fruit flies, little teeny things.
Okay.
We hope you're not seeing stuff, John.
I don't think so.
I didn't realize till Rusty, said that about his hemostats. He carries them all the time to pick stuff up.
Yeah.
I didn't realize a lot of my friends have that same problem.
Oh, look at these. That's from getting electrocuted. I drop a coin on the floor. I can't pick it up with one hand. I have to get down and get my fingers like this and try to get it and flip it into my hand. Either that or get a piece of paper and slide under it, or just forget about it.
That's what I get for my mind, going in the gutter or whatever, thinking bad things, why they always got a pair of hemostats in their pocket. But,
why do I know that?
Oh, boy.
Let's see. We got some YouTubers checking in. Let's see. Jeremy Burton says, my dad was flying a Midwest ME-109 with a Fox 35, and a cow picked a crow, must be crow, picked a fight with it and lost a lot of feathers. Yeah, I bet it did. Now, we've had chimney swifts and hawks chase us around. And out at the fort, especially near dusk, the chimney swifts would come out and check us out. But we've had hawks watch us closely and fly around near the plane. And while I'm on the YouTube subject, Chris Hornady says, hey, man, I hadn't seen Chris in a long time. Hey, Chris, good to see you out there. I don't know if Steve probably remembers Chris.
yeah.
Chris is in the Navy. And I was in Florida and moved up to one of the Great Lakes states, maybe Michigan, I can't remember, to either change jobs or do some kind of training. Not sure, but anyway.
Yeah, I wondered he was building all them airplanes and how they ever came out. Then we didn't see him anymore. He was always building when he was on here with us.
Yeah, on base, yeah. Minnesota Mike says shit's getting deep tonight, LOL. And I was fixing to tell y'all my only flyaway story. Let's see if I can do a screen share here. My only flyaway story was the kitty cat plane. I don't know if I've told it on here before, but I don't know if it was to this group or not. Let's see, application window. There she is. And can y'all see that plane?
No.
It's actually picture. Can y'all see that?
Oh, black screen.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Dead
You got
cat.
it? Yeah.
Dead cat.
that's the little girl. She was 8 years old at the time. Lived next door to me, and I used to fly in the courtyard at the church across the street. And she asked me if I'd build her a plane because she was always interested in it. She had an older brother that didn't give much of a rip about it, but she was always right there. And she asked me if I'd build her a plane, and I said, "Sure, sweetie. What kind of plane would you like?" And she said, "A kitty cat." And I said, okay. And so I went down to the dollar store and got a piece of foam board and some of those googly eyes from Walmart and some black coated twist steel fishing line for the whiskers and bolted that Cox engine on it and flew pretty good. But we were out there flying that plane. And so I got her in the circle with me and got her to put her hand in the, handle and me with my hand around the front of the handle. And we got it launched and we're flying around and around and around. And I said, okay, I'm going to let go now. Have you got it? And she said, got it. And I let go. And off that handle went flying through the sky right behind the plane. And next thing I knew, it was taking off over my house across the street. And it was just about crossing the peak of the roof when the maple tree in the front yard grabbed the handle finally and brought it down right at the front steps and broke the prop. There was a master air screw 5-inch prop on there, broke the prop, and that's the only damage it did to the plane. It's still hanging in my shop. That's just an Osborne platter with legs on it, and I had to make, you can see the lead out guides. I had to put guides here and route it to the bell crank. Got this tail end hinged with clear tape and painted it with some color changing paint that is sparkly and is different shades of between blue and purple wherever, whatever angle you look at it. You can barely see the firewall I built up right there. Just made, that's a hollow block, kind of like a little Satan type firewall, but that's a pretty good little plane. I think it'll still fly. The engine's probably stiff, but I'll quit sharing now. The engine's probably stiff, but other than that, it ought to fly.
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
Cox
man.
Golden Bee.
That
Cox Golden Bee.
was just a parts drawer engine. I think somebody had anodized some tanks and given me one he had anodized to gold color. And I think I don't remember. I'm not looking now. The crankcase might have been red, but I had just threw a bunch of parts together and turned it into a bee with a stunt tank on it, and it balanced out and flew pretty good.
Hey,
But yeah, I thought that one was gone. How you doing tonight, Trey?
Good.
Yep.
I'm here for a few minutes.
get done with your
Okay.
your studying homework.
Nope.
Just took a break, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that never ends, does it?
Yeah, it's brutal this semester. I think I did bite a little bit more than I can chew.
You go full time?
Yeah, I'm 13 credits this semester.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm going hard.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, maybe you can help me with something. I have an accelerometer, and I'm trying to change the scale on it to read at 4 Gs, and it's a GY 521. And I got it to read, and I have all the stuff, but I cannot change the scale on it for some reason. I've read some information, and I just cannot find the right information.
Yeah, there's Arduino scaling command. I can't remember what it is though. Is it? I could look it up, but I just don't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's an
But
MPU
it allows
6050.
it to, what's that?
It's an MPU 6050 on chip.
Okay.
Mike Papa Utah 6050.
I know there's a command, or Arduino command, that can scale, take a reading and then it can scale it to a different set of numbers.
Yeah.
But I just don't recall what it is off the top of my head. I could look it up, but I don't have it right here.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. If you find something, if you can help me with that, I would really appreciate it.
How do I contact you?
Just you have my email, don't you? Or phone probably. Yeah.
Are you on Stunthangar?
Yeah. TDM.
And EDM?
Here you go. I put in the.
While we got a break in the action here, Gerald Wimmer says, hi, Rusty, and all those on Stunthanger. He likes the cat story and just got back from shopping, but need to go out and mow the circles and prep for flying tomorrow. It sounds like a noble pursuit. Good. I hope y'all have a good flying day tomorrow. And
really.
Chris Hornady came back. Chris Hornady came back and said, yeah, he's been busy up in Oshkosh. Got my instrument rating and now work on my commercial, working on his commercial. So,
Oh, cool.
that's cool. Good, Chris. Most of y'all came in here and joined up with the show after Chris had left, but he was a regular on when he was stationed down in Florida in the Navy. And so he's pretty cool.
Yeah. If
And
he did he get his
I've never,
airplane done, and has he flown them? He was building on all them airplanes. I was wondering if he got them done and he's actually flying some control line. Well, I know he's not now if he's in Oshkosh, but
yeah. Well, I don't know, Chris. You heard I heard the question. If you can answer, Steve, would like to know what your modeling progress has been. Have you had any progress since you moved? And I was about to say I'd never heard of Arduino until Trey started talking about it when he was building that system, and now I'm seeing it pop up in all other kinds of both modeling and other tinkering disciplines too. And so, is that hardware and software that can be applied to? It can be applied to all different sorts of all different sorts of machines and anything you want to in time and program, right?
It's open source, so that's what makes it so attractive to hobbyists and everyone. And it's really good for manipulating bits. So it has lots of I/O, and you can do a lot of bit manipulation with it easily. If you're doing more network and video type stuff, then Raspberry Pi is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those platforms are pretty low cost. Arduino is especially low cost. If you're just want to do bit manipulation, it does have analog ports also, so you can input analog data and then output digital data. So they're pretty handy for little projects.
Fuzzy logic.
No, it's not
yeah, Chris says he flew the All-American and the Twister, and the clowns had to get boxed up until after he finished at school.
good deal.
I think I stepped on somebody there. I think I stepped on Trey. And were you fixing to say something?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I'm good.
Well, maybe he'll get on one of these days again and talk with us.
And thank you for the super chat donation. Gerald Wimmer just hit us with a super chat. Appreciate that.
Guys, I'm going to head out. I got to go to work early tomorrow, so we'll see you on Monday.
Okay,
All right,
Lynn.
It's been good.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead
Have a good
and tell you now.
Have a
going to
good, have a
have.
good,
You know, you got to get off early when you got a green dot and you really got good bandwidth tonight.
that always
Yeah, he's got
figures,
some
right?
good connection tonight.
That's
Yeah,
better
Let me
than
tell
normal.
you this.
You're going to get
Let me
off
tell you
early.
this. Let me tell you this before Lynn goes. Next Friday, we're not going to have a show. Probably, I'm
Okay.
not going to be able to have another show. It depends on when I go out of town, Saturday or Friday. But if we don't show up Friday night, then don't be surprised. And I'll try to put out a
Okay.
video announcement middle of the week when I know more for sure. All right.
No
Good
problem.
night, then. Take
All
care.
right. Good night, guys. Have fun. Enjoy the rest of the
Mhm.
chat. See us
Yeah,
later.
good night.
Yep.
Yeah. Bye
Take
now.
it easy, Lon.
Yeah. You too.
The damn
All
dog of
right,
mine
then.
knows the word goodbye and then thinks it's time to play and everything else. But
What else we got? Anybody get any handles in their hand lately?
Mm-mm.
I know y'all are all cold weather people
I
except
drove
Brian,
in
but
snow today.
you did what?
I drove in snow today. Is that worth anything?
Me too.
As
Wow.
long as the vehicle stayed on the ground, no, that's not good enough. If you
Least,
flew,
there was
if you flew the
only
truck,
looked like only one accident. I don't know what happened, but all the way there, 300 miles there and back, and there was only one little fender bender or something, so that was good. But yeah, it hadn't snowed in like a week and a half, so everybody forgot what it's like driving in the snow again. It's like,
down a week and a half, yeah. It was really, it was cold and rainy today. It was nasty and windy too. And I was thinking when I left the clinic this morning, I opened up the door and I'm like, oh, good Lord, I don't want to walk through that. I think I want to buy me one of those Tesla 3s where I can just whistle for it and it'll come pick me up at the door.
yeah, you see, they say now Tesla's worth more than Ford and GM both, and just a little
Yeah.
bit less than Toyota.
Yeah, their stock's gone up quick lately because they've just opened. I mean, they built and cranked up a factory in no time in China, and I mean, it was only a couple of months they built that factory and started production, and they can build super fast in China.
Yeah,
But,
I didn't realize they built a factory in Germany too and just opened and it's producing cars.
sure did. They're throwing them up like crazy now.
Yeah,
Different factories, and different models.
retooling that plant here. Well, not here, but Hamtramck. That's going to do Hummers. The H3 or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So it's going to have 1,000 horsepower. But
Holy crap! 1,000 horsepower.
1,000 horsepower, 4-wheel drive.
Supercharged, no doubt. I wonder what size that engine's going to be.
It's electric.
Oh, electric. Okay, got it. Yeah, well, now that makes sense. Boy,
All these factories. Porsche came out with a new They're trying to catch Tesla.
yeah. The battery technology's starting to pick up speed too.
I love it. I
Minnesota
would
Mike
love to
says,
have an electric car that, for just my normal driving, 90% of the time.
yeah.
And then you have to have
And they got
another.
enough range now to where you can drive it around town and have a great car for running errands, going back and forth to work and stuff like that, and then plenty of juice, without getting stranded with a low battery.
Well, yeah, now at all the Myers gas stations, they're putting in Tesla charging stations and stuff like that because a couple of the owners or big shops there at Myers all have Teslas. So
Yeah,
They put
Yeah,
them at the gas station.
they're getting popular. That's good. I'm glad to see that. Minnesota Mike says they're flying Nelson 36 Combat tomorrow. Supposed to be 70 degrees. He's in California.
Uh,
He's in Clovis, California.
The garlic capital of the world.
The what capital?
The garlic capital of the world.
No shit. Garlic capital of the world. I wondered where that was.
That's
I've been
it.
wondering. I've been wondering about that.
Yep. They got every summer they've got a big get together there, and you can buy Clovis garlic soup, which is normal, garlic ice cream, which ain't so normal, and garlic almost everything.
damn.
I'm not sure.
You
I
might
wanna,
get up to 30.
Garlic ice cream.
I'm not sure I want to overdose on garlic bad enough to eat garlic ice cream.
Well, when you come into town and all these trucks are loaded with garlic and that, and you can smell the town a couple miles out.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a neat little town though. We used to have the Golden State Championship there. That's how come I'm familiar with it. And now it's held further north, but it was a nice little town. It was fun to go there.
No kidding.
Hey, John, whatever happened to, weren't we gonna like drop some plans for a plane that we were gonna build out of a Nobler wing or something? Did anything happen with that, or?
Nothing like you'd think. Not though. I do have a set of plans for 4 different wings, different sizes, 2 different types or airfoils, and 4 different sizes. What I call the designer series. And what it was is it had all of the ribs and all the wing, excluding the flaps and excluding the wingtips and that. But the wing is you can build the wing, but the rest of it had like some center lines for thrust line and options for how high or how low or how high the wing center line was and stab center line and all that. It's all marked on the paper, so you get it and you get out your protractor and your straight edges and that, and you can draw your own fuselage in there and design your own fuselage and have the wing basically set up. I haven't had time to draw up a Nobler wing. What happened is I'm trained in AutoCAD, and I wound up switching over to what is it? Not Design CAD. It's Dassault Engineering. Anyway, it's really close to AutoCAD, except there's little differences, and I'm having trouble figuring out some of these little differences. It's taken me a lot longer to do my work. I'm getting faster as I learn the differences, but I've still got a bit of a learning curve to go through before I can really get in there and draw something else. But I'd be more than willing to make those design, the designer things available. I could send them as a PDF, and you can take it down to your local engineering print shop and have them printed up for you. Go from there.
Are they in AutoCAD now?
Yeah, they're in AutoCAD now.
Because I have AutoCAD, and I also have a E-size plotter at home, so
there you go.
Plot stuff.
Well, why don't I send you the files, and then you can be the guy that people can go to get these, so that they could do their own design.
Yeah.
Would that be? Why don't you PM me on Stunthangar? I'm under John A. Miller, so just PM me there, and we'll get. I'll get your.
Did you ever
email.
get my PM before?
No, you probably go into my old account, John Miller, but my new account is John A. Miller.
All right, I'll try it again. I'm pretty sure I sent it to John A. Miller, but I'll try
Yeah,
it again.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, do that. And if I don't hear from you, we'll talk about it come next to Monday. Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm on Stunthanger. You can PM me, and then I can just PM you back.
Yeah, that's true. It's Tom Rammel, right? R-A-M-M-E-L.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
I
I
can
asked
do that.
Sparky to cancel your old account so it doesn't confuse anybody.
You know,
He'll just delete it.
yeah, the reason I have the new account wasn't because I wanted a new account. It's because I couldn't remember my password. So, and the thing was, I was a admiral on my old account, and right now I'm a what is it? A chicken hawk or something.
A beginner?
New pilot.
Yeah.
You're a new pilot, probably. Well, you can reactivate the old one. Just tell Sparky whichever you want to use.
I
It
might
doesn't
have.
matter. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I just need him to pass me on my old passwords.
Well,
But anyway,
hopefully,
ahead.
John, you won't be traveling so much, and you'll have more time to do some of this more fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay home through most of the week right now because I got the cats and the dog and all them to take care of and make sure the bills are being paid. I would have did a search on one of these big search sites, where you can find out all the dirt on anybody else in the world and all that stuff. And they said here, put your own name in here and see what you find. So I did, and I found that back in almost a year ago, last February, somebody's name got put on as being the owner of my house. I was still listed there as making the payments and paying the insurance and all that stuff, but their name was on there that they owned the house. And so Wednesday, Thursday, I went over to City Hall and I talked to them there, and they sent me over to my title insurance company, and I went and had a nice conversation with the lady in there. And it turns out that they don't have anything listed like that on the title company, nor does the county recorder. He doesn't have anything. I'm listed as the owner of the property, and they showed me the plot lines. So somehow, somebody's made a mistake, and I think I know what it is now. My neighbor just down the street, possibly when he bought his house, somebody messed up and got the address wrong.
Well, I was going to say, instead of having a sign out in your front yard that says "for sale by owner," maybe you could have it says "for sale by neighbor."
Yeah. Yeah, that would be fine, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Paying all the money I'm paying and have somebody that is actually a scam that's going on in parts of the country though.
Yeah.
And I heard one woman got foreclosed on and kicked out of her house, and she's fighting it now. But I mean, at the time she lost all of her what do you call it? But money that she'd built up in the house.
Equity.
And yeah, anyway, she lost it all. She's had to go to court and fight to get it back.
Well, yeah, there was something here, I don't know, a few years back to where somebody was fighting it because some guy sold this person's house to 3 different people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they had loans out on it, and the title company. But it's like, who would buy a house if they never went in it? And that's what this guy said. I live here. Nobody's came through my house.
Yeah.
Who would buy a house without looking at it? But I guess he was selling it so cheap and stuff like that it's like just crazy.
Yeah, somehow or other, these people are able to get their name recorded on your title. In my case, it wasn't recorded on my title. So, but it is, you go to this site, where you look up all the dirt on your neighbor, You look up all the dirt on yourself, and there it was. I went in and I corrected it, and I went back a month later, and it was back there again.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, I've been working though. What I'm trying to teach myself, the little ins and outs of this new program, this new CAD program, and I've been working on the Vanguard, the little elliptical winged flap, non-flap airplane stunt ship, kind of thing. And I've been having fun cleaning up some stuff in there. There, look who's there. I've been having some fun cleaning up on some stuff in there, and I'm cleaning it up, getting it ready, and I'm going to have as soon as I get it all ready and clean, that I'm going to have a prototype cut so I can put it together and prove the design. Because if nothing else, it looks good. I hope it flies as good as it looks.
Now we're going to stack on the boss, and he's going to be dropping puddles that get bigger and bigger and bigger.
What's that, Glenn?
I think that's Dennis.
Behind him, the tanks are going to get so stay away from the puddles.
Is that you talking to us, Dennis?
That's Dennis,
I'm
yeah.
not talking to him.
He's doing something.
Dennis is making a racket. Yeah, he doesn't have his earphones in yet.
Ah.
We can
Well,
hear
wait
him, but
for-
he can't hear us.
We can all sit there and do this. Hey, Dennis. I don't think he knows his
I'm
computer is
gonna
on.
mute him if he doesn't.
No, he's sitting down. He's getting ready.
He's getting
All right.
ready. Here they go.
I turned his sound down. Okay, turning the sound back up now.
Hi, Denny.
Hey, evening guys, how you doing?
There
Man,
we go.
you made a racket getting in here tonight.
Yeah. Pretty late. Well, I'm in Wisconsin. You're on Central Time Zone, and it's only it's early. It's only 10 something here. I thought, gee, they're not on yet. Well, guess what? I don't know. I should have been channeling Tom there, I guess, or something like that for the time zone. But oh well. How you guys all doing tonight?
We're okay. We're kind of having a off and on topic night.
Kind of
Alrighty.
a free-ranging one.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that?
Tonight.
Yeah.
That just looked in.
Oh, Mom. Oh, here at my son's apartment here in Wisconsin. 3 minutes. His middle school put on Shrek. Shrek the musical. Bunch of middle school kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hero's a green person. So what can I say? Yeah, I can't seem to escape the color green. But anyhow.
Well, tell your son to pull up a chair next to you.
I got a little bit in there. Yeah. So, but anyhow,
You're gonna
Shrek had
wind
a
up
happy
loving
ending.
green
So.
there, Denny.
I'm sorry?
You're gonna love green. Pretty soon you'll have green airplanes.
Oh, man. My standards are all gone, huh?
Yeah. Hey, you
Oh,
giving
gee.
any more thought to that non-flap stunner you were cogitating about?
Yeah, I've given some thought to it, and I don't know, I'm back and forth on it. One of the things I do like about having at least a little bit of flap, I'm not even so sure that it's there, even, if you bypass the performance thing. I think you get a certain control feedback from the flaps that you don't get with an elevator-only airplane. I think that's, I think Ryan was kind of making a point like that last week. Make me put words in your mouth. Sorry if I'm doing that. But one thing, the old-time airplanes fly well and stuff like that, but the feel when you have an airplane with flaps and feedback through the control, through the handle, seems a little bit different. So I'm not sure. I wouldn't be against going with something more like a 50% flap, or 50% span or something like that. But
Was
I don't
the
know.
water hot, Chris?
I reread the Humbug article. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Bill Netzaban published something, basically a history of all of the humbug designs, starting back with the combat model design back in the early '60s. And it was a really good series. Talked about all the iterations they went through and stuff like that. And I went back and reread that. One thing I'm struggling with a little bit is I remember seeing the original humbug and back when it was new in 1969. I think a year or two later, he had a real pretty white one that was designed by Tom Warden. Had that at Chicago in either 70 or 71. I'm not real sure. I think it was 70. And they looked like they flew well, but the closer you looked, they didn't. He was flying them on like maximum length lines and stuff like that, trying to hide the fact that, frankly, the corners weren't real good. And he could, and Bob was a terrific flyer. He was able to, I think, mask any of the shortcomings of the airplane and stuff like that. The flip side of all of that is he was dealing with things. The original had a Vico 19 on it, spinning up fast and everything like that. Frankly, I think the humbug formula works better with an electric motor, that you can count on a constant speed or even power up a little bit if you want. And not rely on a really on or slightly off IC engine. So I don't know. All along in windy way of saying I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking so much I'm going to have myself totally paralyzed. Paralysis analysis here. So.
Well, then
I agree with
you
you
have
on
to
the
kill
electric
the
motor.
engineer.
That's it. Sometimes I get decisive. Sometimes I get into analysis overload, and it's like, somewhere along the line, you just gotta cut the crap and just cut some balsa, So, or cut some carbon fiber, as the case may be. But
Yeah. Well,
anyhow.
I've got Walter. He asked me when I was going to build it, and I said as soon as my buddy in Arkansas cuts the kit. So I'm getting the plans ready to get a prototype cut of that. But I'm considering already of increasing the span on the staff and elevator and reducing the level, the angle of the butterfly tail.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're going to go with if you want to go with the lucky boxes and all that, I think that would really be a good idea to reduce the angle. It's just one less piece of grief to worry about.
Yeah. Well, that's what because I looked at the original, the profile version, and I've got 15 degrees, where on the profile version I got 30 degrees.
Yeah, I think you might make 15 degrees work with a single horn, but I just don't see it working with the 30 degrees. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. I've never actually tried it, but I never even could. I looked at it and said, no, this can't work. And then quickly went to the 2-horn arrangement. So.
Yeah, my All-American Eagle has the 15-degree anhedral on it, and that's got lucky boxes in it, and it works just fine, real smooth.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. He built the original with dual horns and all that kind of stuff, and it just wasn't necessary. I don't think there just wasn't that big an angle in it. So.
Yeah.
Hey,
anyway,
let me interrupt, Denny. I don't want to be rude to anybody, but your background conversations and noise are kind of making you override everybody else's. Is there any?
Here I go. I think I might have something going on in the background. Hang on.
I thought maybe it was people in the room with you.
I do have some people. It's funny. My son is at the other side of the room. He's playing. He gets together on Friday nights with 30 people and they video game together. And he's talking to them and stuff. Can you imagine your hobby is such that you sit around on Friday nights talking to them videos to people?
Yeah,
What the heck?
They all need to get a life, don't they?
Yeah, what kind of hobby is that, huh? So,
they're the crazy ones, not us.
Yeah, they're the crazy ones, not us. So.
We
No, I
should
did
be
have a
building,
YouTube
right?
I did have a Microsoft Edge YouTube window open in the background. That might not have been helping any either. So I
I
just
don't
closed
know.
that too.
Yeah,
Is it any
that
better
could
yet?
be. I,
Yeah.
it seems better now. Yeah,
Okay.
it was knocking, banging, and talking. So it doesn't. I just wanted to draw
Okay.
attention, but yeah, it looks like it's better now. So,
Well,
all
by the
right.
way, Rusty, thank you very much for the advice on the motors there. So
Oh yeah, good. I hope that was helpful. Probably
I
more
hope
than
so.
you need.
No, it was. I kind of figured that. I just wasn't sure. Some of the modern engines, do perform really well and stuff. I
Yeah.
I try going with backs when they fit, whenever I can get them. So.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Anyhow.
yeah, it was disappointing that John couldn't get the performance engine he wanted, and it turned out to be a pretty good compromise, though, because there needed to be a great entry level half eight
Mhm.
engine, and that's it. It's easy to run, just like on the bigger end. The Brodak 40 is similar. It's not a big fast competition engine like a Nelson or anything, but it's a user friendly engine that's
Mhm.
on par with an LA 46 as far as efficiency and friendliness goes, and this filled a half a niche that needed to be filled, even though it's not what he originally was.
Yeah. I guess in my mind, I compared it to like a medallion or something like that. It's probably better than a Reedy, but less than a TD or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
probably on
anyway.
par with
What is the
medallion.
new
I
engine?
really couldn't make that comparison, but medallions are extremely user friendly too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
right now we're trying to DPS him down.
Well, and what it was, somebody had asked for actually a letter from a Brodak customer asking to compare the Brodak 049 to a TD 049. And I went to our fearless leader here. I mean, that's right in his wheelhouse. He's Rusty knows the half A engines really well. So I asked offline, asked him a question, asked for his advice on that. So
Yeah, apples and
anyhow.
oranges with the engine. Yeah, I'm glad I could help.
Every single person got a ring.
Yeah, that was great. So anyhow,
Well, Denny, thanks for sending me those files on those airfoils. I haven't had a chance to look at them much, but it looks like there's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I like is that I think there's actually more files there than there are in CompuFoil, and there's a lot of files, frankly, we couldn't do anything with. But they let you subdivide them and search on them a lot easier. Like if you wanted an Epler, you can go straight to the Eplers. If you wanted the symmetricals, it pulls all the symmetricals out. And if you want a symmetrical between 12% and 18% thick, it'll show, it'll take away the thin ones and thick ones.
How many of those are you?
And if you want an airfoil for your new wind turbine, those are in there too. So
Wow.
those are the weirdest ones of the bunch. But anyhow, but there's a lot of them there have deep reflexes and stuff like that I think could stand the transition to a nominal stunt airfoil and maintain the reflex and everything like that. So that's why I say if you could take that file, put it in CompuFoil, and then manipulate the high point and the thickness and things like that, I think there could be some useful outcomes there. So besides, it's more data to confuse the issue too. So
gotta have more data.
Yeah,
gotta have more data. Right? More data.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of pitch they have on those big old wind turbine blades. Is it a flat pitched on the wind turbines, or is it a pretty steep pitch? Do you have any idea? Have you ever looked at them?
They're variable for one thing. I think they try to run the turbines at a constant RPM for the power output, and depending on the wind speed, they will crank the pitch up or down. And they need to control the RPM because otherwise, structurally they get really ugly. They start throwing blades and stuff. you want to go, if you're interested in seeing, destruction that scared the crap out of you, there's a couple of YouTube videos on that on wind turbines that got out of control. They like lost the pitch mechanism or something like that. There was one designed for like 100 RPM that was running like 250 RPM when it let go. And when it let go, it was like a bomb.
Oh boy!
Yeah, it threw material a quarter of a mile away, I guess, or something like that. So.
I guess those turbines have a multi-speed automatic transmission behind them too, probably to keep the output faster.
Well, they're driving a turbine. The turbine needs to turn a certain RPM to generate power. So yeah, I don't.
If you think of the old farm windmills that were used to pump water, they had that fin on the back. Right, they could feather it, not feather it, but they could turn it to where less of the blade was facing into the wind. And
weather bank.
They could control the speed of that windmill using that factor, that piece of equipment. And I understand it was to help from keeping them from overspeeding.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I never realized that. So I thought it was just poor workmanship or something like that. The tail wasn't lined up directly behind the prop or something like that. But or maybe an optical illusion. So okay.
No, when they could feather completely, it would be right alongside the fan.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's at any angle there, it's adjusting the speed of the fan.
I've got a decorative windmill in my yard. It stands about 4 feet tall, and it's got a coaxial spindle and 2 blades, counter-rotating blades, and it has flown one of the blades off of it before too, because it really gets turning so fast you can't even see the blades sometimes, and it blew one off a couple of weeks ago, and so yeah, I can see how it would really be a hazard to the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I'm thinking of the one that the YouTube thing that Denny might be thinking of, when it blew, it actually collapsed the tower and everything else. It flopped around like a dead fish, or not a dead fish, like a fish on land.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dead fish don't flop very much. So
if they had a transmission in them, or they just adjusted the speed of the generator by the blades, or what, because to get 60 hertz, you got to run it at a certain RPM.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I was asking about the transmission. If it's got like a 10-speed automatic transmission behind it or something, it can keep output shaft at a constant speed.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just pitch, because you can also see when they shut them down, they feather them completely. They don't. So we've got a wind farm. It's right on the Ohio border. My in-laws live in Ohio. We pass through this like 500 fans out there, and you can see, at any given time, they're all turning, and there'll be a few that are parked. There's always a few parked, and you can see the blades are edgewise and everything like that. So they may have an additional brake on them, but the big thing is getting those blades turned to the wind.
Yeah.
So.
I've never actually seen one.
Well, come on up to Fort Wayne sometime. I'll take you out and give you a thrill there. All right.
There's plenty of them up there, yeah. I did see a funny YouTube video where a guy was spoofing these tin hats, that are conspiracy theorists, and he was raging about all these wind farms causing excess wind
spewing out of the door towards people randomly. Just go ahead and turn and burn and kill the.
Good night, guys. I got robotics in the morning.
Yeah.
Before you leave, Tom.
Before
you leave, the robots, are they like battling robots, or are they tasked to do something, or what are they?
No, they have some task.
They're competing. They're not battling, but they're competing where they're 3 different schools against 3 other schools. So 3
Mhm.
robots against 3 robots.
Mhm.
And they have a task to perform.
Yeah.
This year it's shooting 7-inch diameter balls into a goal that's 8 feet off the floor. And at the end of the competition, the robot has to lift itself from a bar off the ground, and then balance with another robot on this bar that can teeter back and forth. So
Wow.
I don't know. I think it sounds like it'd be easier to make battle bots or something like that.
it would.
Yeah, you're right.
And we only have 6 weeks total to build the robot. So
Oh,
Wow.
that's not much time.
That's
tomorrow's the next to the last Saturday, 2 more Saturdays, and then we have a practice competition.
That is so
So-
fast.
Yeah.
You need to bring a picture of it in and share it with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I sent Rusty a video. Maybe he can share it with you guys sometime.
I can put it on. Yeah, I can put a link to it on my YouTube page somehow. Whatever I figure out, I'll make sure y'all know how to get it next time. Hey, Dennis, could I ask you to please have your roommate turn the volume down by 2 clicks, maybe, because you're stepping on a lot of us when we're trying to talk, and it actually is pretty loud. Oops, you just turned to gray.
Too many clicks, Dennis.
Yeah. I think,
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night, man. Have a good weekend.
Here it comes back again.
Okay,
Yeah.
Rusty, you're going to ask me to do something, and
Yeah, I was asking if your roommate there can turn his volume down by about
Understanding there is the clearest.
stepping on us. It's completely stepping on us over here.
Okay. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the mute unmute here and see if I can control it.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely muted you.
That works. Yeah, and just whenever you want to say something, key the mic. I suppose. I hate that it has to be that way, but yeah, that it's amazing. I know Steve used to have a TV that was turned down so low it was hardly audible there, but it was making us do the same thing a long time ago.
Well, that's I turn it off now because on that flat screen, the old one had the speakers in the front. Well, I got the new TV and the speakers in the back of the TV. Well, it goes to the stairway and somehow it must run the sound waves through the hallway and into this room. And it's like, but I can't hear it, but you guys can hear my TV.
Like it was right next to you. And with Dennis, it sounded like it was somebody in between him and the microphone sometimes. And so, anyway, yeah, Dennis, you can just key it on whenever you want to talk. Sorry, that kind of ruined your spontaneity there, but anyway. I am going to probably sign off a little early. I'll probably stay on about another 45 minutes or so, but I want to get up earlier than I usually do on Saturdays tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's going to be me too. I'm, up so early and had to drive there to Ann Arbor and spend the day at the hospital and all the tests and then come all the way back. And it's like starting to wind down, but what's funny,
we got a new name,
and my mom won't wear her hearing aids because it bothers her glasses and she don't like the way they look and stuff like this. So every time the doctor or whatever say something to her, she'll turn to me and say, "What'd he say?" And I'm saying, so I'll repeat it or whatever. And we go through it, and I hate doing it. Well, we were getting ready to leave and stuff, and he said, "I'm going to set you up with a cardiovascular oh, not-
Specialist?
yeah, a therapy type deal to get everything back and, stuff like this. So it says that. My mom said, what did he say? And I said, he said he's going to set you up an appointment with a hearing doctor.
Yeah. What did he say? He said, put your hearing aid in.
He's like, no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. And I said, but
yeah, I've got an uncle that refuses to put his hearing aids in because of good cosmetic reasons or whatever. And I'm like, that's stupid. That's like not using, and my mother-in-law wouldn't use a cane because it made her look like an old woman, so that.
Well, that's like, I try to tell my mom, I said, Ma, you go in there, they give you a physical, they check all this stuff, make you take your clothes off. You think the hearing aid in your ear looks bad?
Oh, that's ugly.
Oh,
You're 85 years old. I'm like, I can put hearing it to whatever. They'd rather see them than have me stripped down. I can tell you.
And we got a new YouTuber that visited us. Dennis B says he's been watching for a couple of years, and this is the first time he's actually gotten on into the chat box. He's over on YouTube watching us. So welcome, Dennis B. Glad to have you. If you're a member of the Stunthangar control line forums, you can get a cheap camera and microphone that goes to your USB port and visit us live if you want to, or stay over there. And tell you what is good. We have more YouTubers than we have video people anyway. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the Nut House.
I couldn't believe that Krispy Kreme.
Oh, what is it? Our workplace violence starts. Oh my God. It's heart healthy food in a Krispy Kreme box. Carrots and lettuce and stuff. Oh my! What the hell is all that? Oh, what is it? Raining
looks
cats
like
and
bras.
dogs?
It's bras.
Oh, it is. Oh, I see now. I see the hands throwing them up. Oh my God! Worst photographer in the world. Yeah, he's got the focus in the wrong place. Took me a minute to catch that. Thank you, Dennis.
That should teach you to mute me.
Oh, shit.
What y'all
Trey,
gonna do
you
this
haven't
week?
said much
Anybody
tonight.
got any? What'd you say?
I said, Trey, and you haven't said much tonight.
I'm searching this accelerometer, how to change the GSP on it.
His mind is still in some physics class, and it's just
yeah.
He hasn't wound down yet.
He's thinking in binary. On, off, on, off, or on, off.
You're gonna have an interesting problem over there. How to do that control system on the tail? Yeah, just I was thinking sometimes in gliders use RDS system, which is a rotational drive system. It's like a lucky box. So what they do, they run. They don't use control horns at all, right? So it uses like a torsion bar that runs through the elevator and it makes like a 45-degree angle. Okay, so when the elevator goes straight forward and back, but throughout the elevator goes at 45 degrees. Now you can use two of those and stagger them, right? one goes closer to the root, one further apart. So when you come with the two horns, they come in one in front, one in back, kind of going like that in parallel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you can, if you look from the side, they look like this, but when you look from the front, they are biased at the angle, right? Kind of going back and forth like this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
make it a lot more compact.
Yeah.
It's very compact, hard to visualize. Even when you see them, it's hard to see them. That they've been using them in sailplanes for 20 years or whatever, and people who set them up properly swear by them. They're super clean, no exposed horns or anything like that. So they're really, really great that way. So.
And you can probably daisy chain them, right? You have connect this one to this one, right? And
I don't
this
know. You
one to the
probably
bell
could.
crank, something like that.
Yeah. I've got some that were designed to hook up directly to a servo arm, bypass any servo linkage at all.
Yes.
And those would be. I've got them. I still drag the parts out every now and then, try to figure out how to use them without a servo. But yeah, you're right. If we could use those, that would be the answer to my my flat question last week, where I was asking about getting away from welded horns and stuff like that. And that would be the answer to things like B tails or swept hinge lines or anything like that.
Yeah.
So.
You probably have to use a much sharper angle than 45 degrees for our needs, right? So it's almost like a horn.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if you would or
instead,
not. I think obviously it's going to take a little bit of some finessing. Try it, see what you get out of it, and go from there. So
yeah, that's what I would do. Probably like maybe not even daisy chaining them, but you definitely need some kind of a bow linkage over there.
Yeah.
So probably a single push rod that goes to one of them, and from this push rod on this push rod you have like a bow link of some sort, and you snap it on it and go from that one to the second one.
Yeah.
And you can stagger them either way, one on top of each other, one longer, one shorter. Can you do that? No, you cannot.
Do you have
to be the same.
any of the articles that were done on that? It was that R.D. Michaelis, I think, was the guy who first popularized and first promoted some of his designs.
I cannot understand the word you said.
There's a gentleman named.
Noise.
Okay.
Get rid of all the trash on.
There was a guy named Harvey Michaelis who I think first designed them, and he explained them. There were some articles in, I think, Model Aviation, possibly Flying Models. If we could find those articles, that might help this discussion. I think I'll do a little search when I get home.
Okay.
Okay. Signing back off here for.
That worked. Whatever you did worked well for the moment that you talked that last time. So, Dennis B out there said, "I'm an old fart. Flew with Jim Van Loo before he kidded the chipmunk." And he said, Dennis, he said he doesn't fly anymore. So, yeah, that's happening to too many of us. I'm trying to get back in flying shape myself.
Yeah, John talked to John Paris. He got himself a Van Loo chipmunk. He found it at a swap meet last weekend in Detroit. They got $90, which isn't bad. I paid, I think, $130 for mine. I got it on eBay, but always wanted one. Never built it.
How many different variations on the chipmunk are there? I know about the old Cox, plastic chipmunk, but after that, I don't know anything about the balsa models that are available. There's several of them that are called chipmunk that are not necessarily the same. Is that right?
Well, yeah. The first one that SIG put out was basically a Van Loo, if I remember correctly. The Super Chipmunk is the one that they're putting out now. Is that right, Denny?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of the Super Chipmunk.
I think even the original Van Loo Chipmunk was actually a little bit bigger than what went into the box with SIG. It was like a 46 size airplane, not huge, but I think the one that they kitted was just a little more friendly to the 35 size engines that were popular at the time. I always thought the Super Chipmunk was basically just a restyled thing. They put on the different cowl, the arch hole cowl, the arch hole rudder, stuff like that.
That's about right.
Yeah, and then there have been other things like a gentleman named Pete Kendall had one published in might have been in Aeromodeler. He did a real neat one. Every now and then somebody takes the SIG kit and turns it into the original de Havilland Chipmunk with the de Havilland rudder and stuff like that, which was different than the ones that went into the Art Scholl and the Harold Cryer aerobatic models that were done in America for full size aerobatic competitions. But,
Yeah, I forget the story on that because we were at the SIG booth when they were there, and Van Loo was, and some other guys were there or whatever, and they were talking about there's like two versions of the Van Loo, and then the Super Chipmunk has a different wing again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then RSM kitted the design done by a gentleman named Joe Dill, which was totally independent of any of the other Chipmunks.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So yeah, it's an easy to convert to airplane shape, and it just went all crazy popular there for a while till it was overdone, and now it's pushed aside while we do other stuff, I guess.
What was that other stunner that came out with the at the same time the Chipmunk? It was a Czechoslovakian, I believe, stunner.
Yeah, that was the Zlin Acrobat.
Yeah.
I think it's a model 526 or something like that. I'm not sure.
I always like the looks of that airplane.
I'm sorry, Steve?
So I always like the looks of that airplane.
Yeah.
It's hard to find that kit.
Yeah.
I found a couple of them on eBay, but they go for way too much money than what, $200 and some people are paying for them. And I'm like, I ain't paying that much for a kit.
Yeah. Well, they're rare. They didn't sell as many as they did the Chipmunk.
Yeah, that was actually, Mike Stott was responsible for the Chipmunk, and then Mike Gretz, I believe, is responsible for the Zlin. It was like, it was actually not classic legal. Came out in the early 70s, and I think it might have been caught up in the shift, if you will. That's about the time people started looking at bigger airplanes and kind of pushed that one aside, I think. So
yeah, when I was talking, when Mike Stott was there and Gretz, but he died, they were talking about taking the Magnum, the Van Loo Chipmunk and all that, and then digitizing it or whatever, and be able to cut kits, laser cut kits. And then they could just cut a few of them or whatever, kind of like Brodak does. And he was talking with John and stuff about how they did that, instead of running 1,000 kits or whatever, they could just burn out 50 of them or 25 of them or something like that. But
well, whatever. SIG decided to bring out that Berkeley Lancer. They've owned the rights to the Berkeley kits forever, and all the airplanes they could have brought out. I mean, it's a cute little profile, but they chose that one, and it's laser cut, probably far better than the original ever was. But maybe there's some hope yet. Maybe they own the Berkeley plan business, so that means they have all the old time Zilches and stuff like that. A lot of scale models, not much in the way of stunt models, except for old time.
They had the Stuka though. Wasn't the Stuka? Yeah. What? No. What was
Guardian.
that black airplane they had?
The Guardian and the Black Tiger.
That's the Black Tiger. Yeah. the Guardian wasn't much of a stunt plane. I never saw one really perform.
Well,
Right.
the Black designed by the same guy that did the Black Tiger. You know
Really?
that? Yeah.
No.
Now I cannot for the life of me think of his name, but you know who I mean, though.
Yeah. Excuse me.
I guess I think Kate Trossel has pointed this out. The Black Tiger was the only airplane that won the Walker Cup after it was published. I think. Usually the Walker Cup winners get they get published in a magazine, but this one actually worked the other direction.
Huh.
They actually had it published, and then a year later won the Nats or something like that. So
I just got a
That is
message
kind of-
that says Pete Tyndall chipmunk kit available from Bel Air Kits UKT. I don't know what UKT is. Do y'all?
yeah,
United
United Kingdom kit. Yeah, it's a British kit.
That was from Pinky Perky. Don't know Pinky Perky. Welcome to the show, Pinky.
Tyndall grew up.
That might be
grew up-
Chris Perkins.
Tyndall
Maybe
grew
that-
up several different stunt ships, if I remember correctly. Didn't Tyndall drop several different stunt ships?
I don't know the only one that's the only time I remember seeing his name. I know Frank Warburton had quite a few.
Yeah.
Dennis B posted Jim and then Mike Stott. Let's see, and somebody else followed up on that. I lost it. The YouTube scrolls, and I'm losing my messages. But anyway, I've heard the name Mike Stott before.
He's still around.
Well, Mike Stott is the guy who him and his father Arnie, they basically invented foam wings for control line stunners. The foam flight company, they're the first ones to make them. I guess some RC people have been using them, and they said that that's how Mike, I guess, went to schools, selling foam wings. So.
Oh, okay.
So there's
Yeah,
history. Yeah, you may have heard them in that context. And of course, Mike was he started at a very young age. He was basically a kid engineer for SIG. So he was involved in some way, shape, or form with the Chipmunk. The Banshee was his. He was also involved in things like the Lynn Acrobat scale model. That was an RC scale model for Maxie Hester, 70-inch span or something like that. The scales, Lynn was a high aspect ratio airplane, so it's 70. The RC model was 72 inches or whatever, but wasn't as big as that sounds really. Because
who did the it's a flapless stunner that SIG had, and they only had it in ARC. I think Mikey's models, he makes them now or something like that.
Primary Force.
Yeah, Primary Force. Who was that?
That's Mike.
That was the other Mike. I guess that was the importance with SIG. You had to be named Mike. But either Mike Pratt or Mike Gratz or Mike.
That's Mike Pratt. He had something to do with
Mike Pratt.
The Chipmunks and stuff like that. Yeah, the three Mikes were there.
John.
Yeah,
I'm the more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm just going. I just keep going back to a standard tail configuration, because just the high dihedral angle, the push rods that go to it. I mean, just like it's a pain in the butt to make them go smoothly and have that in place as well. I just don't see it. And all the weight you add on the tail to go to RDS or go to whatever system over there, it's almost not worth it. I mean, it's probably much lighter to just put a regular rudder on it and just call it a day. I just keep calling back at it. It's like, how are you gonna make that work? How are you gonna make that work? And all kinds of ideas that everything I have, just gets so complex because of different the crisscrossing angles because of the say you have a 30-degree dihedral, then one push rod going to go 30 degrees this way, the other one 30 degrees that way. They have like 60 degrees worth of separation between them. You're almost forced to go to 2 push rods over there, and I just 2 push rods, linkage and that stuff is probably lighter to just have a single push rod.
Yeah,
and a simple connection.
Brian, with you and John and Dennis, all the super brains, if you get together, you should have no problem developing that.
Well, Trent, I was talking with Dennis just a little bit ago. I don't know if you heard it. Where I've got it setting, the angle setting at 30 degrees on each, stab and elevator. I've realized that that's a mistake. I need to keep it down at 15 degrees on each side.
In that case, you will not have much of a rudder effect.
But I've got a sub rudder in the center underneath it.
Okay, but like a dorsal fin.
So, yeah, with the sub rudder under there, I might need to lengthen the sub rudder a little bit, get a little bit more area there. But
that will look cool.
Yeah,
that will look cool. I like that.
Yeah, and then I know I can use the lucky box on that because I've got 15 degrees anhedral on each side on the All American Eagle using lucky boxes on there, and they're very. One of the keys of using the lucky box, I'm sure you know this already, but I'll say it for anybody else that wants to know, is that you have to make sure the lucky boxes are lined with something like phenolic or something like that to make a smooth surface there for them. And you have to. I take the edge off the metal, the rod, and I put a little taper on it so that it doesn't have a chance of digging the edge in anywhere. There it is. There, he's got it up. See, I've got it showing there at 30 degrees on each side. The sub rudder, I think if I drop it down to 15, I'll need to make the sub rudder either a little bit lower, a little bit more, maybe a little bit more, a little bit longer. And I'm going to have, when I put it in there, I'm going to have to make sure it's well mounted up into the framework so that it doesn't, because there's going to be some stress put on it with that tail wheel in there.
Yeah.
So
okay. If you look at the whole plane, right, you have a lot of surface area above the wing, above the CG, right?
Yeah.
So as you add the sub rudder, make it, you increase its surface area, stuff like that. You're gonna drop down that lateral, that lateral center of pressure, right?
Right.
So if you do that, I think you're gonna be in fine shape, and I think it's gonna simplify a lot of work over there.
Yeah.
But like you see, like you bring your tail to a very very narrow end on a backside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that will just kill you when it comes to space, trying to get in there and putting linkages and stuff like that. What glider guys do over there, they have very short linkages, maybe a half an inch long or something like that, and they have 2 push rods that go to them usually, because they use the tail as a rudder as well as an elevator, so they need independent linkages to go over there. So for them it's easy. You just put the servo, doesn't matter, with the ball link and the ball link on the other end with a long push rod, done deal, end of story, right?
Right.
But you might have a little bit of an issue. You need the space over there, so your fuselage on the backside going to become much wider, and you might not even stop it over there where you go past the backside of the elevator.
I was thinking that. I was thinking about that. Yeah.
I'll probably do that to gain some kind of space, and make and just bring it back on the very back end.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about that also, because I wanted to possibly, in trying different things, like you said, the straight tail, and all that. I may want to be able to make the stab and elevator removable, so I can bolt in a different one. You know, try some different setups with it.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. Yeah. So the way I'm seeing it right now, I'm seeing it's like a push rod that goes from the belt crank directly to the elevator, one side of the elevator, and then somewhere on this push rod you have a secondary push rod on a bowling, right? Nothing rigid. It has to be a
Oh yeah,
bowling
I
to
see what you're
another
talking
bowling on the other elevator. So now they
about.
both move together, but they're smooth and independent of each other. And you can still use your high 30-degree angle. But in order to achieve that, now think about like you have two push rods that go like this is 30 degrees, right? And let's say you have like an inch or so in, I mean, let's say 3/4 of an inch to be more compact, 3/4 of an inch, but the 30 degrees plus the bowlings. Let's say we put the bowlings on this side, right?
Right.
So here where they kind of touch each other, kind of go like that. They're not going to interfere. So the bowling's going to be the push rods are going to be on this side, right?
Right.
And that's the only way I can see it
Well,
doable.
I like your idea. I like your idea of taking off of the main push rod with a secondary push rod on a ball leg. I've done that similarly when I had one where it was not possible for me to have a flap horn. I I went back all the way back to the elevator horn, but about 3/4 of the way back, I drilled a hole through and put a ball link there and ran
Mhm.
another ball or another push rod forward to the flap to what I could actuate the flap with, and so it worked very well for me. Uh,
Mhm.
it was on a Jack Sheik's uh, stagger wing bike, and
You know,
it did an excellent job for me.
this
You could fly in it, you wouldn't have known it was rigged that way. You know,
mhm. This is
so
what I did on my on my glider. It's it's something like this.
yeah,
Okay, so you can see like this goes to the wing, right?
yeah,
This is would go to your elevator. It's like some kind of like a little wash of the solder on this place, right?
right.
And then I made some clevises that look like this. Let me draw it quickly.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, kind of a
And
snap clip.
and they would snap, yeah, and they would snap in here, right?
Right.
And now you can connect the back of these guys, something flexible or go,
Yeah.
uh, and that works great. I mean, that's what I have in here actually. I mean, but on the back of this guy, so this links back here, this
Uh
one,
huh.
the push rods kind of go upward, kind of like this, and just they're grabbing like this, and they snap in place.
Yeah.
And that's very compact. I didn't have much space in here
No.
because of the shape of the fuselage and stuff like that. This is a very difficult place to solve, to get something that's reliable, something that's easy to make and stuff like that. And I think
Well,
that's about the best I could come up with.
that fuselage is like a javelin. It's really not much. Uh, it's not much diameter to it. It's long
With
and slender.
yeah, you need more width on the back of it, a lot
Yeah.
more width, because there's no way you're gonna put the push rods in that little space that you gave yourself over there. It's no way in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about this, you have from here to here, right? So if this is about 3/4 of an inch, this is also about 3/4 of an inch, which
Yeah.
is like 30 degrees, because it's a equilateral triangle, right?
Right.
But that's 3/4 of an inch as tall as it is if for them just to barely not touch, right?
Right.
and you need a little bit extra from that. So you're talking about 1 inch already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had the same problem with the anhedral on the All American Eagle. I had it, setting in like this,
Mhm.
and I did it on the computer. I had to rotate them through, to see what they did,
Mhm.
to make sure that they didn't touch.
Yeah, because they're gonna go like this. It's gonna separate, gonna come together, separate again. So
Yeah.
basically, at the top point, you're gonna have the closest distance between. What's good for you is that you don't have like an RC glider kind of thing where they go back and forth like this. They
Yeah.
can go together, so they cannot overlap and just kind of hit each other.
Right.
Makes sense. Now, I don't know what kind of connections are there available, but I think maybe you find something like a bowling where the ball is right on top of it, on the top of the wire, so you just snap it straight down, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be pretty compact, and it's like, or maybe have I don't know, what other kind of clevises are there? I don't know. It's like you have to do a lot of searching and see what's available, and build around it after that. Because
Exactly.
Hey guys, I'm out of here. It's good seeing everybody. I'll try to get back on Monday. And
Hope we didn't
Okay.
chase you off.
no, I'm just tired from
yeah, you talk too much.
yeah. Talking too much, yeah. Just going
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Okay.
That's
All
a
right, guys.
missile.
See you later.
See you later.
Steve.
Steve.
See you Monday.
Let's take a look at this. What do we have here? Interesting. I do like that.
It's
That's
very
simple.
interesting.
That's simple.
Yes.
And how is that kind of clevis being held in place on a wire? That's the question I have. How is it not sliding in and out?
He must. I would think you could use a wheel collar type to set
Find
it.
something lighter than that, but you could solder a little nut on the end of it or something. Don't know if I'd trust that though.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't trust solder a lot in the control system.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
a Dubro elevator horn, so it must have been available over the counter at one time.
Rear push rod. Okay. It looks like it's gonna be bindy if you do it like that, like that type of rear
Yeah, it
push
looks like
rod, and the hole is gonna be ovalish.
Yeah, it looks like it would tighten up when you deflect it, doesn't it?
Yeah. As long as it's loose in neutral point, if it tightens up a little bit on a end points, not a big deal. But let's think about, it's most of the time you don't use any more than like say 15 degrees, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I bet you if you put a camera on any plane, even though those planes show like 45 degrees plus minus deflection on maximum flaps or something, like when a plane is standing still, in flight you're probably never going to see more than 15.
Yeah, a couple of people have done that video on Stunthangar. I think Shug did it, and somebody else did it, and it really does not move very much when you do even square corners.
Okay,
Shaggy,
I got my sound turned on.
Shaggy Emery, what was his name?
Shug Emery?
Shaggy Emery,
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, and the wheel collars lock the horns for height, for throw and everything like that. The horns themselves pivot, all right?
Mhm.
And because of that, this system is like, the total system is at least a half-inch narrower than you can do with ball links, because, ball links are just kind of big, knotty things and everything like that. The horns they both went through this loop of wire, and I usually put a spacer in there, either a spring or actually, the last couple I built, I used a piece of foam rubber just to keep the horns from collapsing on each other or anything like that. And over time, over several airplanes, and I got that width, the internal width down from, it was over an inch to start with, and I got it down to about 5/8 of an inch on the last ones I did. And I even started cheating them a little bit by hollowing out the body side, just so I could get it down a little bit narrower. but
Yeah.
you can make it remarkably narrow and stuff. And this is the only way I would try to do a 120-degree V stab. 30 degrees aside.
Mhm.
And the system worked well enough. I even made some flat stab airplanes with it because it worked, and it did allow for an adjustable control horn and stuff like that.
All right.
Now, one big negative with it, and frankly, I never thought it was a negative till later on, is there was an offset from here to here. But if you were worried about that, you can actually just get one more little bend in there. You make this arm go back here and bring this pivot directly under your hinge line, and everything's back to good. The very last one I made was like that. The one on my pink airplane is made that way.
Mhm.
But you can't get there, and Trian is absolutely right. The thing looks like a train wreck, and the only way you can do it is make the pieces and sit there and just start bending and tweaking and bending and tweaking until you get what you need. Now, the other thing is that the arms on this were bent to go vertical. They weren't perpendicular with the flying surface. Follow what I'm saying? Yeah, they didn't. And like Trian was talking about, a normal horn would come out at an angle, something like that, be perpendicular. Well, I actually had them bent so they came down straight.
Straight
And
down.
that was,
Yeah.
and that obviously that was to get the width, down. The system did work, and the flexibility, the pivoting on those horns and stuff like that, was enough to keep them from binding up and everything like that. And this is my standard system from, this is the first full stunner that I did with, no, I'm sorry, it was the second full stunner I did with the detail, and used the same basic system right up to the last one. Just kept
There you go,
tweaking.
John. Yeah.
Just kept tweaking on it. That's all.
Yeah.
There you go, John. Just copy that, and you're gonna be good to go. I like that idea.
Yeah, it looks
I really
good.
like it.
What made it nice in the last couple is, instead of, this one was built with a wire push rod, so that was all bound and everything, bound to a wire push rod. And of course, it makes a lot more sense if you have a fiberglass rod in the middle, like a 1/4-inch rod or something like that, and then it becomes an even less offsets from side to side. So, but that was really nice using a
Yeah, you just make it
fiberglass.
like a U shape and take this end and just bend them inside
Exactly.
through a little hole, and
Yeah,
just
instead of bringing it back
just
to
wrap
the
them
center.
around like a U shape,
Yep.
left and
Yeah.
right. Yes, I like that.
Mhm.
Looks good.
It worked.
Highly
Yeah.
approved. And you know what, John? You can make the hardware yourself by just on a drill press. You take a block of Delrin and you drill it this way and you drill it that way, right? And you slide your block in and you're done. And
Like I
but
said,
you want to be able to pivot freely.
I just use the off-the-shelf hardware, and what you're saying is absolutely dead on. Of course, you could mill them and you could customize them for your own use. One thing I did not try is they make these things, instead of a wheel collar, they make them so they go onto a threaded rod. So you can adjust the height as much as you want and everything like that. And the threaded rod will hold it. You don't need a wheel collar or anything like that. So that extra chunk of brass that Rusty was worried about, that goes away, and stuff like that. I was never comfortable with those because I didn't trust the threaded rod. When you take the wire and they soften it or whatever, anneal it to thread it and everything like that. I never felt comfortable that wire was full strength. But,
Typically,
yeah.
Dennis, typically those rods, those standard parts are about 1/16 of an inch wide, where the clevis goes in and snaps in there, right? What I would be afraid of is it would gain a lot some play in time because of the nature of the beast, and as you run in a risk of it just gonna flipping over like that instead of staying on a like on a rod in this direction. You just maybe go like that. Makes
And
sense.
it,
As the
yeah,
hole
and
gets larger and larger, he wants to do more of this, going back and forth, right? Where
yeah, and
this is the
that's,
clevis on the threaded. I'm not worried about it at all.
yeah, the, in practice, and it's, I mentioned that I put like a spreader in there, either a spring or a piece of foam rubber or something like that. That
Mhm.
was, that, yeah, that was intended to try to keep the horn from turning over on itself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I did also on a few of them, the hole for the control horn was 1/16, and I had some very small eyelets I was able to put in there, brass eyelets inside the nylon, which
Mhm.
probably wasn't necessarily a good idea, but I used like 045 wire for that loop because it was so short it didn't matter.
Mhm.
And the real
Yep.
thing that I think it helped is that because each horn was only driving one elevator, the forces on the horn were less than what you might be used to thinking of in a 16th inch piece of plastic.
Everybody turn left.
So I don't know. They worked. And would work for John's purposes. But
Mhm.
I,
Yep.
I while I was silent, I was also, John's got a lot going on with that airplane. I think he could make it either flat or at least flatter stab, and he could make he could still find out if what he's got to work with there. If you made that your 10 or 15 degree angle, John, like you were talking about, simplify the control system, and especially if you want to make the tail bolt on and stuff, the system I showed you would not be very friendly to doing it. It'd be a pain in the ass every time you remove the tail. No pun intended. And but well, actually, I should have said pun intended. That was a perfect pun. But anyhow. But
Hey,
at
Dan,
any rate,
your camera's turned off.
yeah. All right.
Yeah. So,
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Denny.
hey, John, so how about something like this, like a piece of Delrin, and you drill it one direction and pretty wide. So when you put the wire through it, will never turn around at all.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's self lubricated. It's gonna last you forever.
A lot to think about.
I got a couple
I'm
of
sure
YouTube
as I get to that point, I'll probably be, showing it to you what I come up with and getting some feedback on it before I put it in the model.
Okay.
I don't want to get it too complicated because I want it
No,
to
it's
be.
not complicated. It's just this. You can buy a piece of Delrin, which is 4" by 1/16, right? And comes in rods like that. You just cut it to overall length. You drill one hole from top to bottom in a drill press, and for the it's just a slip fit over your wire, right?
Yeah.
And you drill it in the other direction with 1/16 of an inch, slip fit for the other wire that's going to go to your push rod. Done.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it.
I follow you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how would you keep it from sliding off?
You don't care. From sliding out.
Yeah, sliding off the wire, the horn wire.
Just put a stop on it on the top side, and the overall length is going to dictate how much leverage has.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Make sense?
I follow you. That's a good idea.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
This is doable. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody can drill 2 holes, right?
Yeah.
And because it's Delrin, it's self lubricated, and that thing will last you forever. Now the trick to it is gonna be to the wire that Dennis had over there in his drawing. Oh, let me think about it. Yeah, geometry was gonna do it. Yeah, it's gonna come like this. It's gonna still stay parallel.
The horn may have, depending on the angle it's coming off the bell crank, the horn may have to be canted towards the rear a little bit to get that hole lined up underneath the center of the pivot point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just a matter of just bending the wire to
Yep.
the one that goes in a but even if it's a little bit in front or a little bit in the back,
I
Do
think
them.
I
You do them
mentioned.
both together at the same time.
Live streaming is on.
Hey, we're back.
Yeah.
Denny,
We got a couple of YouTube questions to address as soon as y'all get this other topic wrapped up.
I'm done.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, Dennis B, let me look back up, wanted me to ask, let's see,
And the answer is yes.
ask Santa if tricycle gear is an issue today with the flying of an airplane in stunt. He seems to like tricycle type planes. And so that's one question, John.
All right, you want me to answer it?
Yeah, and yeah, any issues with flying trike gear on your planes, stunt planes?
I like trike gear. I've used trike gear for most of my airplanes. I think it's all but 2 or 3 airplanes in the last 20 years have been trike gear. I set them up basically with an IC engine, no fuel in the tank. The airplane will actually sit on the mains and on its tail. It's that close to the CG. With the fuel in the tank, the airplane sits properly on the ground, but it's very easy to rotate. You just think. Actually, I start off crouched down on my takeoff roll, and at just before I reach quarter lap, I stand up, and I just have standing up is just enough to just lift the airplane off, ever so little, and you can get a very good takeoff by bringing it around and having it as you come to the takeoff point. You want to be at your pattern height. That'll get you close to maximum points every time, unless you're unless you're doing it and you're only an intermediate and they don't think you should be able to fly that way.
Yeah.
But
they don't think you can fly that good, so they don't
Yeah.
get a point for it anyway.
yeah, but the thing is, if you move your main gears back too far, when you get pressure to rotate, it'll pop up. It's hard to make a smooth lift. It gets on there and you get it, and it pops up, and that'll lose you points every time. So with the CG being that close to the balance point, how does it come to land when the tank's empty? Actually, it lands quite well because you can control it with your elevator. So you'll bring it in. I like to bring it in and just before I touch down, just rotate it just a little bit, and it'll skim right in on the mains, and then you can give it down. You slow it down a little bit, let it slow down a little bit, give it down, and plant the nose wheel, and it'll with as long as you give it a little down, it'll stay stuck to the ground. If you make the approach correctly, I understand at Muncie they don't like you they don't want any of this in the landing approach. They want to come in straight and flat. They don't want you to come in too steep, and of course you come in too flat, you're going to do this. So you learn to come in at a proper angle, and as you get there, like I say, you get your wheels just get within an inch or so of the ground. I like to crouch down a little bit so that I can make both mains land touch at the same time, because they don't like it when they see one main hit first. They'll score you down. So you get it there, and again I say you get it on the main. Now Bart Klipinski, he likes to take a trike ship, and he likes to keep it rolling on the mains with the nose wheel up all the way around the circle till just before he stops, and then he'll give it down and bring the nose down. That's just the way he likes to finesse it. Must work for him though, because he gets pretty good scores. Yeah.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay.
I'm thinking you have a plus and minuses for both of them, right? On a tricycle is very good. It seems like on a landing, like the tail wants to go down, you have to make sure you keep it up, right? You have a danger of the tail going down. On the other one, you have the nose going down. and clipping the prop, right?
Right.
I'm looking at the tricycle, maybe a little bit more weight. Obviously, have one more wheel in there. to put in and stuff like that, right? Plus some more hardware inside the wing to reinforce that. So may weaken the wing a little bit, but yeah, well, so pluses and minuses with everything, right?
Right. Well,
Okay.
the what you got in the wing is this, for the mains is the same you've got for the mains on a tail dragger. Same thing. You just
Mhm.
got to move back a little further.
Mhm.
As far as the extra weight on for the nose wheel, yeah, you're right. There is a little,
Yeah.
but you can extend the tail a little bit to make use of that. Uh, you can shorten the nose a little bit to you can use that nose weight nose gear as a form of weight to balance your airplane out.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm
I think,
yeah, one thing I'm a big proponent of the longer tail for sure. I think the longer tails
the
are a big plus.
yeah, the other thing I was going to point out is that, trike gears are really popular back in a classic area. The jets, and everything like that. And back then, the wheels were really heavy too. We were using things like Dubro low bounce wheels, which were wide and really, really heavy. Modern wheels, that's one area. It's a silly little piece of hardware, but we gained a lot of ground in that. Three wheels today weigh what one wheel weighed before. Three
Yep.
wheel weighs more than two every single time. And the extra landing gear, like a nose gear, weighs more than a tail wheel does. So
Yep.
if you're prone to building nose heavy or tail heavy, you might want to factor that in
Yeah.
also. But like I say, I've been building tail draggers and I'm anxious to try a trike again. So,
Mhm. All right.
maybe
Question
I'll
two.
get tired of it and go back to building tail draggers again. I don't know, but we'll see.
Question
We
two.
got one more. We got one more YouTube question from Jeff Riley. This is back to the former discussion: is if you're going to the trouble to build a V tail, why not just go 100% and make full flying tail?
Because full flying tails have yet to be working 100% of the time on every model they've ever been built on.
I think a full flying tail. It's the pivot point is crucial, where you select your pivot point. If it's on the center of pressure or slightly behind it, you are just asking for it. And even forward of the center of pressure, you have to be quite a bit forward of that to make sure you don't get into any of the, fluttering effect that that you can get out of it. So I'm saying probably 20% from the leading edge. That's where I would put the pivot point. And I think if you do that, you should be fine. Famous last words.
Yeah. I don't see that much to be gained over a full flying tail over a properly designed stabbing elevator
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in a stunt.
I think it's a lot more effective because the angle of attack matches exactly the profile of your turn versus like having something that goes like that and drags through the air. Is going like that or going like that? That's the difference.
That's the first phase.
So
What do you think, Denny?
Bringing up a graphic. Hang on.
Hey, Danny, did you know your camera's turned off?
All right. How about this? Can you see? I'm sharing my screen. Can you see that?
no,
Not
your
yet.
camera's off.
Not yet. That might not stop him from sharing that.
You should see a plan on the screen.
Mm-mm.
No, I just got the big green DA. It
All
had
right,
been
stand
on
by.
since the last screen shared.
Showing a red connection here. My thing is showing that I'm sitting 10 feet from the router.
What do you
I got
have?
your I got your green over here.
Am I back? Can you see my
Yeah.
picture yet?
No,
Nope.
not
No,
yet.
you.
I'm going to
Reset.
bring a page here. All right, I think I might have to dive out and come back.
So I'm
Yeah, I think that's what we were having to do the other night.
Yeah. So
Well, I see what you're saying, Tran, but you know what we're doing with the stab and elevators, we're creating an undercambered airfoil, either for
okay.
the or for the up. And I think what little bit of drag we get there, over and above what the full flying elevator would be, is actually helpful to us. I think the problems of getting, like you say, the center pressure, where the pivot point is, and keeping it from going to a flutter or going into a lock, all of these things are problem areas that I don't think the average uh, the average builder is you want to build the airplane and get out and fly it. You don't
Yeah.
want to spend months and
Yeah.
months
Yeah.
trying
You
to
see,
get it.
yeah. Look at Dennis's example here. I see where the pivot point is, almost in the center of it. I think this is way too far back. I think the pivot point should be like another, 25 percentile of the in the front. Because you see where that stab AC is.
Yeah.
That's where the pivot point should be.
Yeah, and this is, I mentioned this plan last week. Fred Carnes, who's, you should call him half historian on this. He did a lot of research into the early I-beam airplanes and stuff. And this is a design called the Nuts that was designed by a gentleman named Sam DeLeon, who was a protege of Bob Daly, who was doing the original I-beams and also doing full, flying stabs. Now, Bob Daly did just what Tryon is saying. He put his pivot at the aerodynamic center, basically about 25% of the chord. But his buddy Sam put it at 50%. And Sam was somehow able to fly the airplane, although other people who actually tried flying this airplane actually, crashed it and everything like that because the controls snatch on you if you over control, especially. Now, one thing that may have made it successful for Sam, although it doesn't explain why the others couldn't do it, it's a relatively small airplane. It's 604 square inches, and he flew it with a Fox 59, which at the time was the hot, the biggest, baddest engine you could get, really. He flew with a Fox 59 at about 75 miles an hour, all right, which would be about a 4-second lap, I think, or something like that. So, and the airplane weighed 57 ounces, right? So you got the 600 square inch airplane, 57 ounces. That's about the same weight as Tryon's, airplane, and Tryon's airplane's another 120 squares bigger or something like that.
I'm
And
710.
710, okay. And
Yeah.
so you had a small airplane going fast, which meant you had a ton of line tension, and the line tension might have been enough for him to overcome, the control snatching. It had to be something like that. Now, there's a note on the plan. Say the guy Fred Carnes, who did all the research on this. Note here: stab drawn as shown on the original 1950 model. The location is unstable. Stab can lock pull up or pull down, causing a crash. Recommend pivot be moved forward 1¼ inches for stable flying. And that 1¼ inch location, like I said, that was Sam's mentor, Bob Daly. That's where his were built. He was building flying stabs. They're building very similar airplanes, I guess, although none of Daly's stuff is documented. But at least by description, interviews with Bob Daly and with Sam Daly on brought out the idea that they were flying similar airplanes. So if you're going to fly a flying stab, and if you're at less than, if you're not pretty doggone close to there, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Now, in Fred's article, he also pointed out one of the there was a recent airplane the gentleman built, like something like a stylized F-104 fighter with a T-tail with a full flying stab, and he had to pivot forward at 20%. and apparently the control effort was too high. If it's pivoted too far forward, you can actually get overloading the effort. Too far back, of course, it's going to snatch and cause all kind of bad things. So
Yeah. Here's my 2 cents into that. An idea of how to set this pivot point. Hang on, it's like somebody's talking over everybody.
Once they're dead, move on to the next one and keep DPS and assists all the way across.
Okay, so all right. So with the pivot point, what I would do if I was what I would do with the pivot point is I would make the elevator and I try to test it out. Like kind of. Then you have a lot of interference here. And so what I would do, I would just build an elevator and I'll make some kind of fixture so I can fixture it and I move my pivot point around, right? And you stick it out of the car, right? If it goes like that, it's too far back. So you keep moving it forward until it stabilizes, right? And that's pretty much as far aft you can put your pivot point without having any issues.
Can't you get much of the same thing you're trying to get with this flying stab with aerodynamic counterbalance? It's similar to what the Super Chipmunk has, where you have part of the at the tip of the elevator, you have it actually go the full width of the elevator, but it's hinged at a hinge point. That part moves up and down and makes the pressure required to operate the elevator much less, but it also gives you some of the same effects, but it's much more stable. It's much more. It's been worked out much longer, and actually is used by a lot of people with especially in the classic era, with their designs.
Here's another trick to it. I'm thinking this would be a cool trick to use. Instead of using the typical push rod setup, where you have like a control horn and a push rod, you can use. You have 2 pivot points, 2 rods, right? One goes through the leading edge and one goes through the pivot point itself, right?
Yeah.
And on those 2 pivot points, you have a cam.
Yeah.
So as the cam moves back and forth, it's going to lock it in solidly. It's not going to flutter or anything like that. And you can tune the cam to whatever angle you want to achieve out of it.
Similar to Igor's setup on his flaps.
No.
Well, no,
really.
it would look like it. It would look like it. It wouldn't drive another push rod.
I'm going to do just a quick and dirty drawing here. Something like that, and you say you attach your push rod over there. You see this?
Yeah.
So this could be the pivot point.
Oh, okay.
The elevator moves, and this cam is going to take the front and lift it up or down. And you attach your push rods here. So as you pull it back and forth, you have the pivot point here and another point over there. You see the slot? So this piece can go back and forth, and this front is going to be locked in. It's not going to want to do none of that stuff. It's going to be locked in because the point's always that controls it.
And you thought that up that quick? That's pretty amazing.
That's why Steve called him one of our super brains.
Yeah, whatever.
That's amazing. That quick.
No, it's actually not true, because I was thinking about a similar system that would incorporate some of this idea on a hybrid elevator. It's a hinge elevator that in a neutral position up to the first 10 degrees, it just does this. But as angle increases, then the nose droops.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that last week.
Yeah, so we'll go like this, 10 degrees, right, for the neutral, so you have a nice soft neutral. And then as you increase the angle, here you have a little movement from here, but now the leading edge starts to drop.
Yeah.
So I have like a full flying elevator. So if you want to do a nice turn with some muscle behind it, like pah, it would just be explosive. And I said, like I said last time, it's doable. You have to make a nice cam with a nice, controlled slope to it. And I wasn't doing more than 5 degrees on the leading edge, just 5 up, 5 down, or something like that, right? And so I don't think you need more than that, anyways. But things are getting a little bit complex, hard to get to it, to assemble and stuff like that. And I said, and then I said, hey, I have more than I can handle right now. Why do I need any more?
Yeah.
Besides that, so I said, if the plane turns faster than I can keep up with it, then probably it's turning too fast for me.
Well, I think anybody that really wants to try a full flying stab, you've come up with what might be the best solution.
Yeah,
at least
a cam like this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's maintaining control of the stab.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You control both hands.
It should not be able to lock up or lock down. It shouldn't flutter.
No. No.
That
None of
gets
that.
rid of. Yeah.
None of that.
Is Denny still there?
Yeah, he's just got his camera and mic turned off.
Yeah.
Oh, camera. I had the camera on, but I had the mic turned off because
Every time
camera,
you screen share, the camera turns off.
you guys keep saying I'm causing static. So what the heck? So.
No.
You're not now.
Hey, I've been thrown out of better. I've been thrown out of better parties than this.
So yeah, I think this cam system should be very easily makeable. So yeah,
Yeah,
it would work. Yeah,
if you wanted to try it out and mock it up and that, you could do it using good grade of plywood just for the mock up to see what your angles would have to be and things like that before you commit it to metal.
Yeah. But with this system, what I'll do now, I'll put the pivot point aft, way aft.
Yeah.
I'll move it like from what Dennis showed us in that picture. I'll move it like half an inch back, right?
Yeah.
Towards the trailing edge, and then the other pivot point is going to be all the way to the front.
Yeah.
So you have a nice spread between them. So it's going to be
the bigger the spread, the better the strength.
Yep, and less slop in it as well.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, you need to have a tight tight tolerance just where it's around the neutral position, right? And the rest of it can be pretty sloppy in a slot.
Excuse me.
So here, a little bit of this range over here is the only thing you need to have tight tolerance. This one will have to be pretty nice and tight all across. And I think you can do this with a laser cut or something like that out of whatever.
You could laser cut it, or you could use a 3D printer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I wouldn't. I don't use 3D. No,
plastic wouldn't be strong enough.
No, not because of that. What happens with the plastic is that 3D printer just puts layer after layer after layer, and as soon as you put any stress on it, they're gonna delaminate. And it's very weak. Oh, never do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Never do that. But something like this, you can probably do it in a Bridgeport. Yeah. Take a Bridgeport and just put an end mill and just cut the slot across, right? And then just turn it on an angle and just cut the other slot across.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Go ahead.
You could curve that angle and get you some exponential.
If you want to, yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You just give it a little bit of that and a little bit of that, but you don't want too much angle between them. You want a lot of travel on this cam and a shallow slope. This is going to give you the mechanical advantage, which means that the bell crank is going to be much longer than you're used to, which is no big deal. You can set it up over there to how much. and you don't even care about the two slots position. I mean, so it can be like this or like that, right? As long as the center kind of goes to the center, because
Yep.
by adjusting the push rod back and forth, longer or shorter, you're gonna fine tune the center position to it. So that's kind of the.
You'd have to have some kind of cage to hold it in position.
No, you
No,
don't. No.
I don't think so.
Not at all. I mean, you can put like a little bit of some small washer somewhere. If it goes sideways, who cares? I mean, if your push rod is this long and your angle it's about this much, like half an inch left and right, back and forth is not going to go much of anything.
Good point.
It's really,
Yeah, good point, Trent.
as long as you don't do the cam like this on a push rod, the cam have to be pretty rigid. But
Yeah, it has to be rigid and go straight back and forward.
yeah, but for that,
Jeff has a comment on YouTube. He says, my full flyer has the pivot at roughly 12%. Seems to work, but the plane is a bit touchy.
they are tough. Yeah. But it's like if you want to make a plane like that, with the full flying, I think they're very good. If it's too touchy, just move the push rod connection closer to the center of your bell crank. You get mechanical angle.
He said, then again, it is a half A. So, yeah, well, half A is
It's a half A. Half A's, you have to fly them as supersonic just to keep them up in the air, the scale wise. No, seriously, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you could win stunt contest with them either.
You could use a half A with 4 engines and about a 45 to 48 inch wingspan, and you could go win stunt contests with that.
Yeah.
You got a prop disc area of a 35 or 40.
Sounds like John's just outlined his next project after the Vanguard.
Hey, Ronnie Lady just came in. He says, yeah, you got it down. So commenting, I guess, on our comments on half A. Hey, Ronnie, hadn't seen you in a while. Anyway.
It's good to be hearing from the guys with questions. That's a good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, we got YouTubers out there tonight.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I'm going to have to cut the YouTube feed off because it's time for me to start shutting down. But as usual, y'all are welcome to stay and chat as long as you want. But let me go ahead and say good night, everybody, and thank you for YouTubing. We appreciate everything y'all did. Got some super chat money tonight, and as soon as I stop talking, I'll let Trey and tell you what he's got there. But anyway.
Hey John, look at this. I mean, it's like at the push rod end, you can make like something like this and just put it inside the push rod, wrap it around, and you're done.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
And if you put a couple of washers on this side here, where this rod is, then it stays center. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Good night, tubers. We appreciate y'all coming in. So in just a moment, you're going to go out and see you Monday. Everybody have fun. And
hey, Rusty.
Okay, that's the end of the
Good night,
end of the two.